Matt asked me to say just a word about the program before we have a prayer. And the word that I've chosen to describe what this program is the word entrance. Now, you know what an entrance is. It's an opening where you can come into something. This program, for years and years and years, has been an entrance for young men and young women to enter into an arena that we know of as excellence. You know, it started years ago with Alf Anderson. Bill Chappell came along and built upon what Alf started. Bill McManus came along. Coach McClurg, who had been here all along, stepped into the helm. Adam Weingarten took over. And now Matt has taken over. And it's all about excellence. And it's about giving our kids an opportunity to enter into an arena where they can taste and see and experience excellence. Our program has two prongs to it that help us to be excellent. One is grace, the other is glory. This program, like no other program, gives kids an opportunity to experience an unconditional acceptance. It doesn't matter what side of the track you're from. It doesn't matter what color your skin is. It really doesn't even matter what level your athletic ability is. The thing that has girded this from day one has been come. If you want to experience excellence, come and we'll work with you and we'll shape you into someone who can achieve excellence. Unconditional acceptance. Now, I'm the chaplain, so I can get away with this. I believe that unconditional acceptance comes from another guy that the Bible says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever would believe on him would not perish, but have everlasting life." One of the reasons I'm still involved with this program is I was a recipient of unconditional acceptance. That has to be first. These kids have to know that they're loved and they're accepted. That red jacket they got on takes away all class. They all look the same. They have equality. Acceptance. Boy, that's key. If we're going to have excellence, we've got to have acceptance, and you have helped us do that. You have spent your money and your time and your commitment to make these kids feel like they belong a part of this program. And because of the grace, we've seen the glory. And the glory comes when a kid realizes, hey, I'm a part of this. I'm wanted. I'm accepted. And then they will go out and lay down everything they have to achieve that excellence. There's probably no team in recent history that has shown us that more than this team. Because it seems like perhaps we arose to a height of excellence and some people thought we were going a little bit downhill. But now we've got a resurgence. Now we're going back up, and you guys have helped us to realize that. A doorway. I would say to you, as boosters and as friends of this program, help us keep that door open. Help us keep the entryway open so that others can come and experience grace and partake of what it means to be excellent in all that you do. Right before this banquet, I took a kid in another sport. He's standing out in the hall. His mom was in the hospital. His daddy died a couple of years ago. He's thinking about quitting the team because he feels like he's the oldest son and he should be taking care of his brothers and his family. And his coach called me and we talked to him and we said, son, you got to stay a part of this program. This program's here for people like you so you can experience good things. And we're here to do whatever it takes to help you stay in this program. Let's stay after it, my friends. We need a lot of grace. And that grace, I tell you, it's going to lead us again to a higher level of glory. Let's pray. Father, thank you for this program, how it has, through the years, reflected the very character of your being. A God who is gracious, a God who accepts unconditionally, and through that unconditional acceptance inspires glory in human beings. Thank you for our coaches. Thank you for our boosters. Thank you for our administrators. Thank you for an open door that young people can come through called Dalton High Athletics, and especially in this case, Dalton High football, to experience the good and great things in life through self-sacrifice, through teamwork, through taking responsibility for their actions, all because somebody really does love them and care about them, no matter who they are, where they're from, or what they've done. Help us to continue to keep this door open so that we can stay on this road to excellence. In Christ's name, amen.
I'm very honored to be up here to give the Carter McCamey Scholarship Award. Carter was a member of the Catamount family whose life was cut short because of cancer. He was a leader through his faith in his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. While going through his battle, he said, I just want to glorify Christ. I want everything I do to be a testimony to God's power and faithfulness. Sometimes I don't even pray for the doctors. God's in control of them. I pray for the people that my life is in contact with. Through the efforts of the McCamey family, Carter Scholarship has helped countless young men continue their education. This year's Carter McCamey Scholarship winner has grown physically, mentally for the last 4 years. Gone through a lot of adversity. It hasn't been life-threatening, but a lot of adversity. Have a lot of respect for him as well as most of the coaches and players. This year's Carter McCamey Scholarship, which is $1,000 from the McCamey family and $1,000 from the quarterback club, is Devontae Davis. I love you.
So now here's what I'd like to do. The top academic award winners tonight, I'd like the following seniors to stand up. These gentlemen all have above a 3.3 weighted GPA, cumulative GPA. So if you guys will stand up. Okay, if you'll come up, we have a plaque for you as well. Kevin Gwynn, Nathan Bryant, Lyle Durham, Jacob Bartu, Jay Rockholt, Grant Sane, Jordan Keener, Dakota Tankersley, Jake Roberts, Chase Todd, and Blake Evans. Guys, you turn around. All of these young men had a cumulative GPA higher than 3.3. And now the award winner for the highest cumulative GPA senior. They're going to win also not only this plaque, nice plaque, but also a $1,000 scholarship from the quarterback club with a weighted cumulative GPA of 4.7234, Nathan Bryant.
Starting off with our first freshman, Gerardo Garcia. Gerardo is a hard worker, and the great thing I like about Gerardo is every day he comes out, he's got a great attitude and is always ready to work. Next, Marshall Phillips. Other than having a good haircut, the thing I like about Marshall is Marshall's a guy that's got great hands, and you know, when you look out there on the field, he'll line up against anybody. Marshall. Next, Keith Adams. I don't know if this is a word in the dictionary, but when I was at Auburn, Coach Dye used to say somebody was a plugger. Now, somebody smarter than me had to figure that out, but this guy is a plugger. He's a guy that every time you turn around, he's face first, head first, into the pile. And this is a guy that's going to be fun to watch as you watch him over these years. Sam Stepp. Sam's another one. He's got great ball skills. He had to step up and play a couple of different positions this year that he'd not played in a while. And he has a great attitude and did it with no problems at all. Next is Zeke Cobb. I wish Zeke would grow. I'm just glad he's getting taller because I was worried I was getting shorter. Zeke's a guy that got pushed into action this year, and is a guy that obviously his potential is unlimited, and it's all going to come down how hard he wants to work. And one of the great things about him is the fact I think he's more than up to the challenge, and we're going to get to see that over these next few years. Cole Shelton. I forget what game it was, Coach Wilson, but I remember you calling me and saying at the banquet we'd have to give him some sort of cash settlement or something. We went and played a game, and bless his heart, we had about 3 linemen that were gone. And I think the night was just sprint out all night long. There was no runs, there was nothing. And that was the night that we knew Cole is a tough guy. And he's not only a tough guy, he's a hard worker, and in the midst of adversity, he's going to be a good leader for us. Lath Land. Now, I like this guy a little bit more than the rest of them. There's some obvious reasons other than his good looks. Lath's a guy that you know, there's 2 reasons I like Lath being out there. One is because Lath can help our football team. Lath's got good hands. He's got good speed. He's going to get this year some size on him. He's already growing. But the big thing is Lath's a guy that's high character. And he's a guy that as a dad reminds me how I need to treat your sons. Because now I've got somebody looking at me that is not my son, but he's my nephew. And he's always out there with a smile on his face. Lath, I appreciate you, buddy, and I love you. He's not here. He is. All right, I'm going to go back to one. Devin Pope. Did Devin show up? All right, good. And guys, if I get through here and I don't call your name, please kind of stick your hand up and we'll call you. I love Devin. Devin is a guy, he's one of the most coachable people I've ever been around. I watch him as Coach Thompson's talking to him, and he's just drinking up the nectar of Coach's wisdom. And it's just great to see him and the way he plays. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Next is Colton Fromm. Well, fruit don't fall far from the tree. This guy is all motor, no rudder. And that's our quest with him. With Ethan, we got him about midway through his senior year with a rudder. And we're going to get a jump start on Colton. Colton is a great kid to coach. I mean, he is first in line, and I mean, he's the guy that'll jump off the plank at any time. and just got a great attitude, and he's another one of those guys that's going to have to step up next year and probably play for us. Tucker Sumner. Tucker is a guy that we had to really stick him in action. We go to camp, and we've got a lot of injuries, and we had to put him into action quick. And regrettably, he had an injury that I pray I'll never see again, but I had never seen, and that was a spinal concussion. I mean, I didn't even know what that was. I've learned more about that. But my biggest problem with Tucker this year was he just wanted to get back on the field. Well, that meant that he'd probably try to get out of some of our rehab and some of all that, and there was a couple of times I had to step in and call a timeout and just say, Tucker, look, you're not going to go out there until doctors tell me you can go out there. And, I mean, he practiced more in pads with no chance of going out there, but he wanted to be out there. And, Tucker, you got a great attitude. Just keep that attitude, and you're going to be a great guy here. Kyrick McGowan. Kyrick is a guy that he's got quick feet. I'm always checking him in the halls. I'll catch him walking with a girl or something like that, and I have to like grab him real quick and get him away. But he's got great ball skills as well. That's something you're going to hear me say a lot about this group. This group is probably one of the most skilled groups that we've had in a long time. Next, and I'm going to go back on this, Jesus Mercanti. Now, this is Mercedes, because I don't ever get his name right. And I'm sure I got it wrong then, but I'm going to tell you, this guy he goes to the bathroom full speed. I mean, everything. I mean, I'm telling you, he's amazing. Everything he does is full speed. And it's just, man, it's contagious, because when he gets around, I mean, to put him and Coach Thompson together, I mean, that's like, matches in a firework factory. I mean, they're both bouncing off the wall out there. So, but it's good to have those kind of guys around you. Next is Rodney Melendrez. The thing I like about Rodney is he's just always present. Everywhere I go, he's present. I mean, I went to Walmart the other day, and he was there. I mean, everywhere I go, Rodney is. He's like a shadow. But Rodney's going to learn to play this game. He's already got some good skills, and we're going to help make him a better player. He's somebody who will help us. Next, Maddox Houghton. Maddox, obviously, very coachable. I use this word, and I'm going to use it probably about 7 times tonight, and that's not to say your son's not one of these, but it's just meaning that this word sticks out when I think of him, and that's the word trustworthy. He's trustworthy. There's things that I can give him to do, or things that I can ask him to do, and I literally will walk away, and I don't think about it again, because I know that he's either paid attention to that, or I know that he's working on that, or I know he's followed up on that and asked Coach Thompson about it. And Maddox is a guy that we really thought was going to have to pull his red shirt this year and put him in a couple of times, because we got a little thin in our secondary, and I can tell you, if we'd done that, I would have been very confident in you, Maddox. So thank you for this year. Tariq Terry. Well, he grew his hair up there in the middle so he'd be taller than me. I'm always on him about that. I want him to be tall. Tariq's a guy that has unlimited potential. He's got a great smile, and the thing about it is he smiles even during practice. Which, that just makes other people mad. But I like it. I like it. So Tariq's going to keep working, and Tariq's one that we just got to find out where he can help us at, because he's got the skills to help us in a lot of different ways. Parker Putnam. The thing that sticks out to me about Parker transferred in this year, and the first thing that I'm glad that he is he's taller than his dad and his uncle. That was the first thing I was happy about. But the other thing was that he is a tough runner, and I know he's going to play some linebacker, but we played him a little bit at fullback this year, and it really opened our eyes to possibly how he can help us. And he's another guy that's going to develop, and I think he's going to be a guy that will definitely help us in the years to come. Next is Jacob Ferguson. Now, he asked me to film this so he could put it on Vine and Instagram. No, I got to play with him. This guy right here has more footage than Peter Koppel. I mean, every time on the internet, he's on there. And, you know, I love it because he's great. The problem is I'm afraid one day he's going to be out there at practice, you know, with one of those Go Cams on or something like that and uploading Coach Thompson or Coach Bennett or something. So, but Jacob's a guy that we had to move him mid-year. He was playing fullback for us, and we needed a guard, and he moved in completely unselfishly and just did a very, very good job. Nathan Moore. Nathan's a guy that went to camp with us. We were thin at defensive end, but beyond that, Nathan had worked really hard. And Nathan's got a good body. He's strong. He hustles. And the thing and I remember a conversation Coach Bennett and I had, we were talking about some of the guys, and it surprised me about week 2 or week 3. I asked him, I said, all right, Coach, you know, if this guy gets injured and we got to move this guy to offense, who's your next guy there? And he didn't hesitate. He said, Nathan Moore's our next guy. And it was because of that later in the year we wound up putting Nathan on our kickoff covers because he proved to be a great tackler. And he's a guy that definitely can help us next year. Jake Brock. If you can't already tell, he's quicker than his dad, just by the way he got up. I tell you, he's got a great tree that he comes from. His dad, was a great player here. And I'm going to tell a quick story on his dad so I can tell the story on him. There's only been, Coach Bennett, about 2 guys that we said would never play here. Am I right? 20 years? Chris was one of those, his dad. I remember saying, that guy will never play. And I'm going to tell you, that guy, for all you guys that think that's you, he stayed with it, and he came out and wound up starting his senior year. I think he made all-region, honorable mention, something like that. But the point was, he became a great player for us. The great thing about Chris is that he has that same work ethic. And the great thing about Jake is he comes out, and he's got that same work ethic. And, you know, you look at him when you're coaching him, and he's really trying to compute what you're telling him. And that's something I appreciate, Jake. Thank you for the way you played this year. Next is E.J. Ramos. E.J. plays baseball as well, and E.J.'s actually one in this grade. He's one of the first ones that I remember watching and watched him play baseball. And I tell you, he's just a great athlete. He's got great feet, and he's somebody that will continue to get better, I'm sure, as he goes through this. Max Maynard. Oh boy, Max. First, let me get the good out of the way, and then we'll tell the funny. Max is really, he's just defensive lineman. His knuckles drag when he walks. I mean, he can tie his shoes standing up. I love this guy. Great at just big butt. I mean, he's everything you want in a defensive lineman. And he's got a great attitude, which kind of ruins him being an offensive lineman, right, Coach? The bad guys. But let me tell you the great thing. This guy broke his wrist. Dr. Wilson, I don't know what he did. He fractured it, broke it, did something. I mean, he's laying out there on the field. And this thing, it's nasty, okay? I mean, it looks like a wheelbarrow. I mean, it's just doing this, and he's laying like this, and we're talking about it. And I'm really thinking, okay, I've got to go in crisis mode with him here. So I get down there in his face and say, Max, listen, it's okay. It's okay. Well, he's kind of like smiling, so I'm thinking, all right, great. He's in shock. So, you know. So I'm looking for Coach Pollard because if mouth-to-mouth has to happen, Coach Pollard's the guy. So since he don't talk, I knew he had plenty of breath. So, but this is the great thing about Max. I said, Max, are you okay? He said, yeah, I'm fine. I said, all right. Well, I mean, do you need anything? I mean, what do you need? Honest to goodness, he said, a homecoming date. I said, Max, are you on drugs? What? He said, oh, you're talking about I'm fine. So, that let me know where Max's mind was. And you know what? That may make him an offensive lineman, Coach, just because of that. So we may have to get some tape out of him or something. Next is Caden Stokes. Caden has got great size. He's a good worker. He's a guy that we really can't decide offensively or defensively where he helps us best. And so probably for this next year, he's a guy that's going to continue to play both sides of the ball. But he's got a great heart, and he's a guy that shows up every day wanting to be better. Next, Alex Reese. Alex isn't going to talk you to death. I figured that out. But the thing he does do is he's tough. And I love seeing him just every day. Comes in with a great attitude. He's a guy that's unselfish. He's played probably every offensive line and defensive line position throughout the year. He just stepped in where we had to have him. And that unselfishness is going to get you a long way, Alex. Thank you for that. Diego Campos. Well, he's smiling now. Normally I see him, he's the most serious guy I know. He's like an insurance salesman. I mean, he doesn't smile, but I'm glad you're smiling. Good. The thing about Diego's is he wants to be good. When we did our evaluations of our players, that was the number one thing that I wrote down about him. He wants to be good. And what I know about people that want to be good is they're willing to make a sacrifice. And I think Diego's is going to be that kind of guy. So, Diego, I appreciate you and your example to these guys. Christian Sanchez. Christian is our recruiting coordinator. The problem is he keeps bringing me people that don't speak English. But he loves Dalton football, and he works his hiney off, and he loves telling people about it. I just can't understand it. So either I've got to enroll in Dr. Baker's class, or he's going to have to really start helping me. But this guy loves Dalton High football, and just see him. In fact, he was translating, and what I couldn't understand, what I could understand was he loved playing football, and he loved Dalton High, and that's contagious, man. I love you. I appreciate that example. That's great. He is here. Okay, Davis Looper. I played with his daddy, and there's one trait that he gets, I know, from his daddy, other than being a Georgia fan. He's sly. And I kind of like that, because he's that guy that'll probably be patting you on the back and then probably peeing on your foot at the same time. Excuse my example, that's a Coach Dyeism, so forgive me of that. But he is a true offensive lineman. If we can get his ability and his skill to get up there with his attitude and with his work ethic, he's going to be a great lineman for us. I don't know if he'll have size, but I'll tell you what he'll have. He'll be the guy that'll dig down, and he'll be the guy that'll get an extra yard for you. And I appreciate the way he works. Next is Kevin Cruz. Kevin's going to be a lawyer. He's just got that seriousness about him. He's got a great handshake, and he's a guy that wants to play football. And he's a guy that I think this program is probably made for. He's going to stay after it, and we're going to stay after him, and he's going to be a good player one day. Juan Escudero. Okay, I must have missed him. All right, Ramiro Torres. Oh, is he here? Oh, I'm sorry. Come on. Oh, you did stand up. I'm sorry. My bad. No, it's a running joke. Trust me. Hey, look at me. You don't think I get that joke? I probably got it from the guys here earlier. The thing about Juan, he'll do anything that I ask of him. I mean, I can literally be at the field house and think of something. Hey, I need to go get some. Hey, Coach, what do you need? You mean to run and get it? You mean to do it? He's always offering to help. And that's servanthood. That's serving. And that's just a great character quality to have. And I don't know what kind of football player he's going to be. We're going to work with him, and he's going to keep working. But he's going to be a great human. And that's the thing that we need probably more of than anything. Ramiro Torres. Ramiro tore his ACL and it was one of those freak ACLs. He was just doing a tackling drill. And it's a shame because Ramiro has really, really become a good football player. And at that point, and had begun to play a little bit, and at that moment, we just were like, oh, no. But he's continued to work hard, and we hope and pray that his knee's going to come back. I think it is. He's already doing a lot of stuff, and he's going to be a good player for us. Gavin Driver. Gavin's tall, and he's got these big old long arms. And that is a premium when you think about tackles. And the great thing about that is, I was watching Blindside the other day, and I'm listening to that little soliloquy there at the beginning where she's talking about how the blind side came to be. And, you know, I thought of Gavin because he fits the bill. He's tall, long arms, he's got good feet, he plays basketball. And what we've got to do is help him realize exactly how much potential he's got. Because if he realizes how much potential he's got, I think he's going to be able to help our football team. Brock Nelson. Thankfully, Brock's voice has dropped this year some. I was feeling like I was the cheerleading sponsor there for a little while. I'm playing with him. Brock is a guy that probably could have helped us this year on varsity because of just his size and his ability to play. He's got a tough attitude. He's got an edge to him. And he's a guy that I think next year will play a lot of football for us. We got to get that knee back, and he's doing that. And like I said, I think he's going to be a good player for us. Ramon Sharif. Mon came to us from Model, right? From Model High School. And you know, we get a lot of guys in here that transfer into our program, and some of them are good players, and some of them have come from programs where they're good players, and they're just not there yet. But when Ramon came there, I was very excited about him because of the fact the very first thing that I recognized when we went down on the field, he just had his jersey and his helmet on, and we were doing a full-speed drill, and he gets down to go. He's ready to go. He's ready to get in the drill right then. And, you know, that's one thing I learned from Coach Dye. He used to say, if a dog don't bark, it ain't going to bite. And it's good to see somebody like that wants to play. And that's a great attitude, and especially we're going to need linemen, so that's good. Thomas Wright. Thomas is another guy that I'm going to use that word for, trustworthy. Thomas is the guy that is always doing the right thing. Now, you know, I don't hang out with him on Friday night, but I have to believe the way that I see him, that's the way his friends see him. And he's a trustworthy guy. Beyond that, he's coachable. And he's a guy that as we went through this year, we had to flip him some sides. One game we had to move him inside. And, you know, you just told him once. Once you told him, then he put his heart to it. And he's a guy that I really enjoy watching play. Thank you, Thomas, for your attitude. Joel Garcia. Joel's another one of these guys that's a hard worker. He wants to do well, and he's always trying to please you. And that's the thing about it as a football player that's important. He wants to please his coach. And that's something as we go through this 2 or 3 years with him, that's going to be important to him as he continues to develop. Ivan Camacho. Ivan's another guy that gets down in that offensive line and defensive line, works hard. He came out a little late, but we caught him up, and he's a guy that's going to get serious this year about it, and he's going to be a good player, I'm sure. Ivan Cruz. Ivan's a guy that has got good ball skills. He's a guy that really, you know, you look at him on the field and he's just not what he seems. He seems small, he seems slow, he seems something, but he's really a guy that works hard, and it's fun to see him. And I don't like that word. You've heard me say this banquet's past. I don't like the word overachieve, but he's probably a guy that will get labeled that somewhere down the road because he's a guy that works hard and does the best with what he has. Irvin Candelero. If I was in high school, this is a guy that I know I'd be friends with. Irvin Candelero. he is a guy that when I see him walking down the hall, he's always talking to the right people. He's always with the right person. I don't ever see him loud. He's very respectful. I get compliments on him from his teachers, and that's a good sign. Now what we're going to do is commit to him and help him become a good football player. Trey Washington. Trey, the thing that I like about Trey is he's a true lineman. He didn't come in here and say that, well, I really want to be a fullback or I want to be a running back. He came in here and said, I'm a lineman. And he's a guy that works hard, and he uses his limitation to actually his advantage, because he's a guy that will root you out. And I watch him down there. Every now and then he'll get mauled on one of our board drills. But outside of that, he's always rooting those guys out and getting leverage. And I like that, Trey. Keep working hard. Nick Faulkner. Nick is a guy that has so much potential. He's got a great motor. He's coachable. He's got good feet. He runs hard off the edge. He plays some defensive end for us, and he's a guy that probably will have to help us on offense as well as on defense. But that's a great job out of Nick. Oscar Rubio. Oscar came out to us, and he's learning the game. Got a great attitude. He's a hard worker, and he shows up every day, and that's a great quality to have, and we're excited about him as well. Last is Mike Perez. Mike is a guy that really, I've listened to Coach Bennett talk a lot over our 20 years, but Mike's a guy that I've sensed some excitement in Coach about Mike. He's a hard worker. He does every drill as good as a lot of these varsity guys. And when we did our tackling station, he loved our tackling drill. And he'd be the first one in the line, and I'd watch him, and some of the seniors would hop up there in front of him and tell him to get back. But I want to tell you, he's a guy that pushed these guys, and he made us a better football team this year. Even though he never played on a Friday night, he made us a better football team. And I want you to know I appreciate that, Mike. Next is Matthew Tankersley. Matthew's that guy that I really need because he's that little, demon or angel on your shoulder, kind of depending on what day it is. I know his mom would probably agree with me on that. But he's my angel because he's right there with me, and he's telling me a lot of stuff. And he has a great maturity about him where he reminds me some things that I'll forget. I'll get in the middle of practice, completely forget, and he'll come back up, and I'll look over there, and I think he's over there drinking the water machine up, and he's over there actually mixing something. But he's a good worker and just does a great job for us. Next is, and that's our freshman class right there. Now, freshmen, did I miss anybody that came in late? I think we got everybody. Coach Bennett kind of caught me there on that. All right, that's a large group. There's 48 of them, okay? And there's about 12 that I didn't call out, okay? This is one of our largest freshman groups, and this is one of the groups that I've been excited about because this group is going to be sitting here one day, and they're going to be holding the same trophy, and that trophy might be a state championship, I don't know. But this is going to be a great group that's going to come in as we move up and go play at the next level. These guys are going to integrate into that, and guys, we're going to depend on you. I want at this time just stop for a moment, and I want to recognize a couple of managers that are not here. One of our managers is not here, and then one that is here. The one that is here is Tyus Love. Tyus? I tell him I'm envious of that DJ Jazzy Jeff hairdo he's got. I wish I could have that, man. Every time I see him, that makes him taller. I can't do that to mine. I'm short and I'm going to know it. But Tyus, I'm going to tell you what I love about Tyus. That guy, it doesn't matter what I show up at, that guy is the ball manager. He's on the court. He's on the practice field. He's in the equipment room. He's always helping. And I tell you, Tyus is going to be a good football player for us as well, basketball player. But right now, I appreciate him being a good manager. You do a great job of what we need doing. So thank you very much. The other manager that helped us this year was Mal Leonard. Mal does a great job with us, and Mal kind of helps coordinate some of the water and stuff like that for us, and he'll actually be here next year as a player. But Mal did an outstanding job as well. So with that, that's your freshmen and that's your managers. Next, I'm going to now begin with our varsity team, and I'll start with our sophomores. First is Michael Alexander. Michael he's quick. He is quick as a hiccup, and he can run. And what we've got to do is get his confidence to equal his quickness, because he's a guy, when you see him in uniform, he should be helping us. And now we're going to commit to him, and we're going to get him on the field this year. Isai Hernandez. Do what? Yeah, he's been traded a couple of times, hasn't he? I mean, he's kind of been worked through the. Isai is a guy that he can kick the ball any way that you can imagine. Toe, heel, hip, arm, head. He can do it all. I've never seen anybody that can kick it as many ways as he can. And that's going to be a great benefit for us as we go through it. And he's right now maybe the only kicker that Coach Mayo considers liking. I know he don't like them, but he considers liking kickers. He's the one that's giving him a little bit of hope. So with that, next is Jace Chastain. Jace is obviously a great athlete, and he helped us last year as a freshman. He's a guy that this year could have helped us in so many ways, and just had an unfortunate accident that I've never seen in all my. I've never seen a leg break that way, ever. And it broke my heart for him. It broke my heart because I know how hard he worked. I know what he had put in to be in that position, to be able to play. But he's a guy that coming off the field, I saw the tenacity in his eyes, and I saw what he's about. And it's going to be fun to watch Jace over these next 2 years help lead our football team and be a good football player. Next, Travis Nilsson. Travis is a very smart player. He's a guy that understands a lot what we do. He's a guy that on the field, he's very coachable, and he's a good listener. And that's something that, as Coach Thompson and I have talked, he's a guy that's going to have an opportunity to start next year, and this is going to be a great off season for him to find out if he wants to play, because I think he does, and he's going to get an opportunity to do that. Jordan McKinney. Jordan McKinney's the goofiest person I know. I say that affectionately, Missy, affectionately. Oh, well, come here, Jordan, like I said. Love you, brother. He's that stress reliever ball at work that you can squeeze. You know what I'm talking about? That you're supposed to just kind of hold on when things are. He makes practice fun. Guys, am I wrong? I mean, he does the stupidest looking calisthenics. And it's hilarious. He's doing all these arm actions, and what's great about him, yeah, exactly. Well, that's it. Peyton's doing it. He's kind of like doing this, like he's feeding himself. But what's great about him is Friday night, playing for the region championship, I look out there. He's doing this stupid, goofy dance. And what's great about it is it does not affect his play. He's that guy Coach Mayo and I always talk. There's different kind of players. There's guys that go in there that beat their head against the wall and bleed and go crazy and all that. And then there's guys like Coach Mayo that it's just fun. And they're relaxed. And he's one of those guys. And so our job, Coach Thompson and I have always been to just kind of make sure he's not stressed. Coach, I don't think we got to worry about that. I've never seen him get stressed. But he is such a fun guy to coach. He showed himself this year what kind of athlete he can be, and he's going to be a good player for us next year and a returning starter. Austin Mills. Austin is a guy that we're going to find a place for. He was one of our special team stars this year. He was in on probably 50% of our tackles, or at least was around it. He was a guy that went down and he unselfishly would throw his body out there. He'd take 2 or 3 guys out on the play. He was a guy that we'd flip and run him out one place and bring him back to another. And I know he'd get confused, but what we knew is that he would try hard whatever he did and wherever he's at. And guys, I would just tell you, that's a teammate to look at. If you want to have a right kind of attitude at practice and at playing, that's a guy. He was a great scout team player for us as well. Tyler Nolan. He looks like a blonde Ricky Nelson to me. The hair is definitely a throwback. We're working on that hairstyle. We're going to get it right. I love you, brother. But I tell you, he is a guy that is full of energy. And we got to get him in space because he is dangerous in space. Y'all saw the same games we did. When Kelvis went down, he stepped in, 137, 140 pounds, and he ran like he weighed 200. Regrettably, we played some teams that were a little bit bigger, and they can arm tackle pretty doggone good. And when you don't weigh but $120 or $150, it's easy to get that guy. And he continued to run, but where he helped us was every single coach that we played against brought up how he helped us in our return game, whether it was punt returns or kickoff returns. And he averaged his all-purpose yards. He was our leading rusher, or all-purpose yards for our offense and everything. And he just did a great job. And I'm excited to see he's going to have a great offseason, and I can't wait to see all the ways that he's going to help us this next fall. Nathaniel Mays. Now I used to call him Birdseed because he'd supply us all with birdseed when he was one of our managers. And then he kind of grew up and became one of our players. And there's not a single person sitting in this room that wants to do it as bad as he does. And he's got a great want to. And the great thing about it is this staff is going to take that want to, and Nathaniel's going to be a good player for us, I know, one day for sure. Ramon Ornelas. Ramon's a hard worker. He's fun to coach. He hustles around the ball. He's another guy that's still learning it, but as he learns it, he gets better every day. Thank you, Ramon. Appreciate you, buddy. Logan Pender. And I'm going to speak on behalf of all the coaches. This is the best butt I've seen in 20 years. I'm just telling you, when he gets in a stance, it is picture perfect. His back is just like a tabletop. It's straight, and he's on those toes. He's like a cat ready to prowl. And when he came up here as a freshman, what was funny about him is he was playing guard. And I'm kind of going through the list and looking at the names, and you know, when I see obviously the name Pender, boy, I've watched enough Dalton High football, Brad. I remember Pender. I remember watching his daddy play. And I remember I went over to him and I said, "Logan, what do you play?" And he said, "Well, I'm a guard." I said, "No, you're fullback from today on." So we've moved him to fullback. He played this year a lot of fullback, and he's going to play next year a lot more. He's going to have to help us in a few other places. He's going to have to play a little bit on defense as well. But Logan's a strong kid. He's a guy that's got good speed. We're going to get him more comfortable with carrying the ball. And Logan, you're going to have a great future here at Dalton High School. I know that. Wyatt Irwin. I had about 3 or 4 great disappointments this year, and this was one of them, because I really felt Wyatt could have helped us in a lot of ways. He was a great perimeter blocker, but beyond that, love you, buddy. He was great hands. He had worked hard during the off season, caught a lot of passes, and I'm going to tell you, it affected our offense when he got hurt. Another one of those freaky accidents, running straight down on a fade and just falls out, like a grass sniper shot him. But he's got so much skill, and I think the thing we got to work with him is just keep working on quickness, because he comes back from that knee. There's going to be something there, but we're going to make sure that he's back on that field playing for us. Fernando Hernandez. Love you, buddy. Fernando's a guy that not a man of many words, but improved a lot this year. Really became a guy that had some good hands. He got some JV catches, but beyond that, he's a great blocker, and he's a guy that, if we can work on his speed, I think he's another guy that will definitely be able to help us. DeAndre Massey. This is WMD, Weapon of Mass Destruction. I like his confidence, too. DeAndre, he's calling you out right there, Lyle. I saw that. DeAndre is a guy that he'll volunteer for anything. Scout team, I need a 3 technique. Boom, here he comes. I need a safety. Boom, here he comes. And he's a guy that we're gonna. He and I have been talking. We're gonna see how he really helps our football team this year. But I think he's gonna have a very important role, and it's gonna be exciting to see his kind of next venture for him. Josh Marino. Josh is a guy that hurt his knee his freshman year, and and he came back, and thankfully we got him about the 8th week of the season, 9th week of the season. He got released, and boy, I tell you, he's a guy that many of you remember his brother Jerry was really a great player, and I have those same thoughts for Josh. Question is going to be how he helps us. Right now he's playing outside linebacker, but he did play some running back, so we're going to look at him at both during this spring. David Rockholt. David is another guy that's very instinctive. He's a guy that's very instinctive. He had to step in this year and grow up pretty quick. We had to throw him in a couple of games when we had a few injuries at linebacker, and he came in and did a great job. He's a guy that next year is going to have an opportunity to start. We're going to have an opportunity to be a leader on our defense, and we're going to need him this offseason to really get serious about football, because I think he's a guy next year you're probably going to hear his name called out a lot. Bradley Roberts. I'm going to say this about Bradley, and I don't want this to in any way be taken as anything less than a compliment, because what I'm going to say is, to me, somebody that did this my whole life, this is probably one of the best compliments I give him. This guy's one of the best scout team players I've ever been around. He knew what we wanted when we put him out there in our scout team, and he made our offense better. There are those times you want him to be hard, you want him to make every play, but then there's those times when you're running the same play 3 times, you don't need him to run in there and make an interception. You don't need to be a Thursday All-Star. He was a guy that was just great, and he always played hard, and he gave you his best effort, and we're going to reward that this year. You're going to work hard, and we're going to get you out there on that field. Next, T.J. Hornsby. TJ is a guy that's infectious. Man, he is. I'm gonna tell you, if there is a guy that you call the consummate teammate, it's him. And I'm gonna tell a little something secret on him that I probably shouldn't. It might be violating some secrecy or privacy law, but these guys will tell you I like to do some things during the year, and I know some of them think it's a waste of time. But I'll have them write me some stuff. I'll have them. I'll give them give me what's your goal. What do you want to achieve? Or, what's been something important that's happened through this football season, and have them write. But I asked the guys to write to me, how could you help our football team win? How could you help? What do you do best to help our football team win? He was one of the first guys that brought it, slipped it under my door. I went in there and read it, and I knew it. Before I even read it, I knew what it was going to say. He said, I want to be the best encourager on the sidelines, and I want to cheer the loudest and the longest. And I'm going to tell you something. If there's anybody here to dispute me, guys, am I right? I mean, that guy hit me more times with a towel this year. I mean, he's out there lassoing and all that. And I mean, I look back there, man, and he's giving it this, and then he's raising the roof, and I was just like, man, that's loving it, man. And I'm going to tell you, I like being around T.J. Hornsby. And T.J., you made us a better football team this year. Jesus Rodriguez. Jesus is a guy that is really close to my heart, because Jesus is doing a lot of the right things. He knows this is not his future. He knows football is not going to pay the bills for him. He knows it's probably not going to get him in college. But what he is doing is what's the main thing in his life, and that's using this as a platform to share Christ. At least 5 different occasions this year, he went to Chattanooga and spoke in prisons. He spoke on the radio. He did a bilingual TV show. And I'm going to tell you something. This guy's going somewhere, and he's going the right way for the right reason. And Jesus, I like you being around us. Thank you, brother. I love you. Next is Christopher Breton. I jumped. Christopher came out a little bit late, wanted to be a part of the team, and he's out with us probably about 2 months, and was really kind of beginning to understand scout team and all that, and tore his knee up. Had another injury one day at practice, and Christopher's a guy that's going to be fun because he don't know a lot about football. It's his first time to play it, but he's understanding it, and he's a guy that we're going to invest some time in, and as long as he's willing to work, somebody's going to be here willing to coach him. Andrew Williams. Andrew's a unique big guy. Not because he likes to eat. I'll tell you that. He comes to my house every now and then, about cleans my pantry out. But Andrew is a guy for a big guy. He's very, very aggressive. In fact, it almost works sometimes, Coach Mayo, Coach Smith, to his detriment. The times that he got beat this year in games was because he was too aggressive. Too aggressive in his pass rushing or his pass blocking, too aggressive in sometimes his run blocking. And that's a good thing because we work with that. A lot of times you can't go from the other side. But Andrew is a guy that started for us this year. He and Juan split time, and it's going to be fun to watch Andrew. I think Andrew's going to have a really good career here. Jake Myers. Jake's got great size. He's very dependable. Jake kind of bounced around, and we asked him to play a little bit of center this year in JV. He never played that before. He's played linebacker, played defensive end. He's kind of had to do a lot of things for us as a utility guy. But he's a very good football player, and I'm sure on Friday nights he's going to be on the field a lot next year. Next is, have I said Neff already? I already said Neff, didn't I? No, I didn't. Where is Neff at? Neff Guerrero. I'm sorry. I got off my notes. Yeah, I thought you would know. Neff's a smart player. He really understands leverage, and there's a lot of times we'll put him out there, and to be honest with you, I'm sitting there going, whew, we need to check quick. And that guy he takes care of his man. Whether it's a double team or whatever it is, he's a technician, and he's just a very good player for you young guys to watch. He's gonna help us as well. Next, Connor Corrin. Connor, as you can tell, he's good size, good feet. Connor plays basketball, and he gets up and down the court. He hustles, never has a problem with hustle. I think the thing that we've got to help, he's a hard worker. I think the thing that we've got to help Connor with is just help him to realize, like we was talking about earlier, the opportunity that's here for him. And when he gets ready to play, I think Connor is going to be a guy it's going to be tough to deal with. But I'm excited. I hope he's going to have a good off season. I know we're going to get after him, and I look for him to be playing next year. Tanner Story. Tanner's got great hands. He runs good routes. He's got that tall, lanky body, and he's a guy that really, when I see him at practice, he's a guy that sees what he wants to do. And sometimes he has some limitation and he can't do it maybe because of speed or what, but he's always working, and I know it's going to click for him. He's going to get there. He works hard in our weight room as well. Aaron Rice. Aaron came to us late. He transferred in. He's got a great knowledge of the game. It's a matter of us kind of helping him understand our system and how he can play in our system. Sometimes he tries to do too much, and that's a good thing because he's wanting to play. He's wanting to play hard. But we're going to keep working with him, help him develop some discipline, and he's a guy that obviously he's got size, and that's what we need. You want me to do Calderon right now? Next is, and Jordan Long's not here, so he would be our last sophomore. So that's our sophomores. Next, and we'll begin talking about our juniors, and I'm going to pick up on a few sophomores that walked in. First is Matt Hamilton. Matt's dependable. I got Matt in class. He comes in every day with a smile on his face. Matt has great work ethic. And the thing that Matt can contribute to our team this year is that he's got to become one of those guys that's not just standing in the crowd but sticks out. He's a guy that we want to put in, a guy that we want to run plays with, a guy that we want to throw the ball to. And I think Matt's going to do that. I think he's going to work hard and he's going to get there. Next is Eder Mora. You know, there's a lot you can say about Eder. We know that. He had a great season this year, 169 tackles, 6 interceptions, 9 pass breakups, 4 forced fumbles. Reason I know that is I've got probably a dozen schools that have just called me this week wanting to know about him. He's a guy that's going to have some opportunity to play at the next level. He's going to need to decide whether he wants to kick the ball or catch the ball. That's kind of the deal. I know he's wanting to do both. But in the middle of all that athletic prowess, what I would say about Eder, and I think everybody in this group would tell, is Eder is a lot, since his freshman, he's been a lot part of our discipline. He's a disciplined player, and he does an outstanding job of keeping us where we need to be from an attitude standpoint. When we go out on the field, there's not going to be anybody more tenacious than him. There's going to be nobody more ready to play than him. And he accepts that mantle. He knows that that's part of his DNA, and that's the way he's got to be. And what's great for me as a head coach, and I know for our coaching staff to see, is that he's one of those guys. We've got a lot of leadership in this room that they've never stepped up and become leaders because they don't think they're supposed to be leaders until they're seniors. And for all of you that know anything, leadership is leadership. And if you're a freshman and you're a leader, we need you to step up. And sophomores and juniors, you need to step up and be a leader. He's a guy that stepped up his freshman year at Jack State, and that's why he's recognized even by our seniors as part of our leadership, because he's always stepped out and been a leader. So he's a guy for you young guys to look at. Yeah, look at him as an athlete. Yes, look at him as an attitude. But what I want to encourage you to do is look at his leadership. Next is Charlie Martin. I love watching Charlie play because Charlie's a guy he runs great routes. He's a hustler. He's a guy that'll run that safety down on the backside when the ball's away. Anything he can do to try to get a shot on him, to block him or push him or whatever, kick him, bite him, whatever he can do. That's what I like about Charlie. He plays with a little bit of a defensive mentality, which is why Coach Thompson had him come over and play some cornerback with us this year when we had to have a little bit of depth. And so that's something that he's going to probably have to do this year. He may be competing for a starting cornerback position as well as playing wide receiver. So Charlie's going to have a great offseason, I'm sure of it. Peter Sigmund. Peter is really a joy to coach because even from last year when we were doing some of our Sunday throwing sessions and things like that, Peter was the first guy there. Very rarely was he not the first guy to show up to throw. And he's a guy that competes at everything he does. And I go out here and I watch our JV basketball team play, or when he goes in a varsity game, watch him when he plays tennis. I mean, I've watched him do a lot of things. Everything he does, he competes. And, you know, that's a great thing that I think this team had, and it allowed somebody like Peter to be a great player for us, was this team wanted to compete. They wanted to be the best, and they wanted to be better than who they played. And I tell him all the time, after the Florida-Georgia game, I look out there and Shaq Wiggins is the starting corner, shutdown corner for Georgia. And I reminded Peter, I said, don't forget, you had 2 passes for 21 yards against him in that Sandy Creek game. So I want to pump him up because I want him to feel that he can be that kind of player for us. Kiko Rodriguez. Kiko is Mr. Consistency, Mr. Dependability. It's no secret. I've just not been a big fan of kicking field goals over the years, just because various and sundry of reasons. One of the main things is on 4th down, I think that's when you find out what kind of oil's in the engine. And then you find out what kind of players you have. But Kiko was a guy that really helped me this year trust kickers, trust the opportunity that these guys get to come in. And unlike everybody here, we can all look at these guys and say, hey, son, you missed a tackle. That didn't cost us the game. You dropped a pass. That didn't cost us the game. You fumbled the ball. That did. We can say that and we can kind of blend that in. My son will not be a kicker because you can't do that. A kicker, everybody can stick their finger on this year and go, Auburn lost the national championship because they didn't make that field goal. Or Alabama didn't do this, or Georgia. And it always comes down to a kicker. And we have some scars, right, Coach Mayo? I have to help Coach Mayo get through that. But the thing is, Kiko is that trustworthy I talked about. If Kiko misses it, I can tell you, it's not because he's not trying, and it definitely ain't because he didn't put the work in. And so that's the great thing about Kiko. I feel comfortable being every time within his range. We're going to always put him on the field unless we need points in another way. But Kiko, I'm excited how you're going to be a senior this year and lead us. Peyton Veraldi. Obviously, Peyton matured this year. And really became a great player for us. I see him more now that the season's over with because I'm checking my daughter's Instagram pages, and so I get to see him a lot. And it's funny because every time I see him, this is what I like. He loves Dalton football, and he loves leading this team, and he loves the opportunity to be a part of this team and to be out front. And I'm going to challenge you guys with that example because that right there, when you set yourself out in front and tell people to look at you, they're going to look at you. They're going to look at you. You can't hide in the shadows and do things you're not supposed to. You can't hide over here and be somebody that you're not. Because when you tell people to look at you, you better be who you say they are. And Peyton, that's what I appreciate about you. You're who you say you are. And I like the fact that this year you matured, became a good player. We've got to continue to work on game knowledge, and I know he will. He's going to be a hard worker. And like I said, look forward to seeing him this year. Next is Kelvis Rhodes. I can't tell you how my heart broke for our team, but really how it broke for Kelvis when they told him about the injury that he had. Because I'd seen that one time, and it was an incident that, to be honest with you, the guy never came back. He was a guy I played with in college, and he never came back. And I never told Kelvis that, and that's the thing about Kelvis. He continued to work, continued to realize how important he was to this football team. And obviously when he comes back and he plays outstanding. He does exactly what Kelvis does. He runs for lots of yards. He's an emotional leader. He gets us charged. But the thing that Kelvis is going to change this year is Kelvis is going to have to be that guy that's dependable every single down, every single play. He's the guy that we're going to look to lead us in a lot of different ways. And the thing that I know about Kelvis is he's more than up to the challenge, and he wants to do it. And he's going to have a great offseason, and I'm confident next year he's going to be a guy that helps this football team, but also will go to that next level as well. Chipper Elrod. Man, I love Chipper. Chipper's a guy that Coach Carpenter and I was talking transformation-wise, Coach Thompson. I don't know that we've ever seen anybody that's put more weight on that quickly. Well, Coach Pollard did, but that's a whole other issue. So I'm playing with you, Coach. I'm playing with you. Chipper put it on in the right way, and the reason he put it on, he ate, he slept, but beyond that, that cat got after it in the weight room. I mean, that was every time I would ask Coach Thompson about what we did that day in the weight room. He had a Chipper story. Man, you wouldn't believe Chipper there. And it wasn't that Chipper was lifting the most weights. It wasn't the fact that he was the guy that did the most reps. It was just the fact that he was so dependable, and he was a leader in there, and he just worked his butt off. And he definitely is a guy. And I'll just be honest with you, and it's great. I'm glad I can say this. Chipper wasn't on our radar. You go back and listen. I looked at my notes preparing for tonight on what I said about Chipper last year. If I recall exactly what I said, it was something to the degree we need to help Chipper continue to understand this game and help him figure out where he goes and helps our football team. That's what I said. He did that. He used the offseason and he learned the game. He learned the sport. He learned his position. He was coachable with Coach Bennett. And on top of that, he worked his butt off. Those 240 workouts, he got 240 days worth of work out of it. And Chipper, you're a great example of these guys, and I appreciate you and love you for what you did. Cade Keelan. Cade got a haircut, and I didn't even recognize him. Now I came in and introduced myself to him. Cade is a guy that I love being with at football practice. And Cade's he's a sleeper to me because sometimes I don't feel like Cade's giving me his best effort. And Coach Carpenter don't feel like he's giving him his best effort. But then you realize, first he's pacing himself. That's the first thing. But better than that is that he's always ready when the play's got to be made. I watched him in JV games. He'd make the tackle that had to be made. And he'd run in there and get the dog knocked out of him. But if that's what the play had to do, he had to do it. And Cade is a guy that he's fearless. I really hope, I'm a Cade Keelan fan. I hope Cade plays a lot of football for us in the future. And I think the weight room, Cade, is going to be where we're going to do that because you're more than capable, more than capable. Chase Westfall. Chase is another one that's already getting a lot of looks. He's a guy that coaches this year. Every coach I talked with all wanted to compliment us, particularly after the game on the way Chase plays. His ability to catch the ball, his skills in that department, his size and his quickness, his ability to block. He's tough. He follows in really a great pattern that we've had here at Daunt with our tight ends, and we're blessed to have known. But the thing that really stuck out to me as I was preparing for now about Chase is really coach on defense. Chase just unbelievably came in and became a true pass rush technician for us and allowed us to do some things defensively we really didn't have in our scheme, but because of his effort and the way he worked, it really allowed us to evolve. And Chase, you're one of the reasons why we're the #1 defense in the state this year. And your ability to come in and be unselfish, and you played a lot of plays. I think one game we had you charted about 84 snaps. So we're going to have to get that up. So you may have to play both ways this year. But once again, Chase Westfall. Next, Hayden Gross. Hayden is a guy that this was my other disappointment, and I'll just tell you up front. He finished the year last year, coached 235, 238, and I really thought this is great. He's going to get in the weight room with Coach. He's going to come back at about 255, and man, that's going to be it. Well, he came back in about 207, and he looked like a calendar boy for a bikini modeling or something. And, he had all these things that these linemen don't know about called abs and all this stuff, and it was scary because I started thinking about these guys having to run behind a guy that weighs 207 pounds. But what he showed us is what we knew, which is it didn't matter if he was 207 or 237 or 257, he could get after it. And when it was game time, he put that motor on, and he could get in that. If he was blocked down on the nose, he was blocking on the nose. He's kicking out the end or trapping, he could kick. He could do everything we needed him to do. I'm excited. He's back, got his weight back up over 240, and we're getting there. Hopefully, that's where we're trying to get. Yeah. So because I want him to have that opportunity. I think he's got the talent. I think he's got the skill. But that's going to be the thing that people are going to look at on him is his size. So I hope that he gets that back because I think he's going to be a very, very good one, and already is. He's a 2-year starter and be a 3-year starter for us next year. Next, Uriel Perez. Uriel is one of the great surprises this year. We kind of had Uriel penciled in, but we really didn't know where Uriel was. We just didn't know what his mindset was, and he still was kind of learning the game, and he had some hesitancies about the way he played. And man, I don't know what happened. I don't know if I don't know what happened. But about week 3, he just became a violent person, and you'd watch him on film, and it just wasn't Uriel. It looked like somebody took his body hostage. And, man, he became a great player. And I look back, just kind of looking at this, Coach Ben and I were talking the other day, he's a guy that we look at next year and say, you know what, that's a returning starter that we can depend on. And it's going to be fun to watch Uriel lead our team next year. Daniel Hurtado. Daniel got some quality reps this year. What we need out of Daniel is consistency. He's played freshman, he's played scout team, he's played JV, and he's been good at all of them. And we need now Daniel to be great because Daniel is a guy that could give us some quality depth, and I think he's got an opportunity to challenge for a starting position. He's got a great frame, and he's a guy that wants to do well. So this year it's just a matter of getting that consistency. Great job this year, Daniel. Next is, Evan Stewart. Evan, you got to know Evan. The thing I like about Evan is sometimes he'll get mad at you for speaking to him. In a good way, though. He's not like mad, but I mean like he's in this zone. And he did. He smiled. I saw that. I hope somebody... No, he didn't. Okay. It was a glimpse. I saw it. But Evan, you know, we've all heard that phrase, country strong. He's country strong. I mean, he's a guy that... I mean, he's great in the weight room, but, you know, I just watch him out there on the field, and he's just he's a big frame, and he really, I mean, this year, a couple of times that he was out, he struggled with a back issue. It really affected us, and it affected the depth of our line, but it affected the way we ran the ball as well. And he's a guy that next year you're going to really see us run behind him a lot because he's just a strong guy, and he understands what we're doing, and the more he understands, the better he's going to be. So that was a great year this year, Evan. Great year. Next, Warner Braun. Warner is a hustler, and he's a guy that you look at him, and I'll start with his negative. His negative, he's light, and he plays defensive line. And we look at that, and we go, you know what? The guy's wrestling 187, and he plays tennis, and when are we going to put weight on him? And, you know, we keep having these conversations, but what Warner keeps showing us is that he's got a place on this team because when we talked about with Chase, his pass rushing, Warner is another one of those guys. That's a great pass rusher, and he's got good hands. He's got good skills for a defensive lineman, and he's a guy that I know he's going to get his weight up where he needs to be by the time we get there next fall. But he's a guy you're going to see a lot on third down, and we may even have to look at playing him up a little bit. Now that we play a couple of different looks on defense, he's a guy that could be a swing guy for us. So it's exciting to see what Warner does for us. Logan Mathis. Logan began to contribute toward the end of the year. He got in a couple of games, and he worked hard. He kind of bounced around a little bit between guard and tackle, and then a couple of guys got injured, and he just got some great reps with our first team. And I know it shocked him because we had to kind of just put him in there, and he kind of proves that example of that. If you put a cat in a room full of dogs, it'll bark. Because when he went in, even though he'd been a second-team guy, he went in and he played like a first-team guy. And I think what we got to do is get him believing and thinking he's a first-team guy. And I think at that point he's going to be able to compete and give us an opportunity to look at him on Friday nights. Chris Hicks. I wouldn't even try to button that, buddy. The thing I like about Chris is he loves football. And you know, when I watch Chris, you know, I mean, there's no secret. Half of y'all can hear what we're saying on the sidelines anyhow. When we're getting on Chris, it's because Chris is not playing to Chris's potential. He's playing better than the guy in front of him, but he's not playing to Chris's potential. Chris can be a great offensive lineman for us. He's got great size. He's got good feet. He's got a great heart. He works hard. We've got to get Chris to where he believes that's who he is, and when he does, he's going to be a great lineman for us and a guy that we can play, we can run the ball behind on Friday nights. Tommy Ridley. Tommy is smarter than anybody in this room, staff, adult included. It's a little bit daunting and a little bit intimidating to talk to Tommy sometimes because I realize his confusion lies in that we're talking too simple for him. He needs, quadrangular conversations and fracular, molecular situations. And I mean, that's his world that he lives in. We don't, as you can tell, and definitely some of these guys don't. But he is a guy that we've got to find out where Tommy can help us, because Tommy helped us last year in about 4 different places, but we really never found a home for him. This year, we're going to find a home for him. We're going to find where Tommy can help us. And I know that Tommy will play on Friday night somewhere next year for us. Evan Pope. Evan's a guy that's back to that word trustworthy and a high character guy. He's a guy that has really worked hard in the classroom. I don't think he's ever made a B. He's a guy that I'm sure he struggles just like a lot of these guys academically, but he works and works and works. He's a guy that has spent 3 long years on scout team. And not because of his inability, it's because of his ability. Because what he does is he snaps. And he's the only guy that can really snap, where a lot of these guys, they'll go out and play 4 or 5 plays on scout team, and then they come off and somebody goes in for them. He plays every snap. And, I mean, I don't think you took many plays off this year. Then we run him over there, and he has to go and work second team with the offense. So he's a guy that if we can get his weight and continue to work with him, I think he's a guy that's going to help us next year. He already needs to learn a little bit more guard, and I think he's going to be a swing guy for us and be able to play really a lot of positions there. Francisco Calderon. Frankie really got better this year. Frankie runs good routes. He has a little bit of a running style. We had to adjust a little bit, got him to open his gait and his stride up a little bit. And he's a guy that we just got to keep tinkering with, because I think Frankie can help us. I think Frankie's a guy that may not be an every down player, but what I know is he wants to be an every down player. And I like that about Frankie. Thank you, Frankie. Appreciate you. Tyler Wes Welker Britton. Now, I say this affectionately, so wherever Shannon is, okay, take this nice. The thing I like about Tyler is he's the guy that I would give the most likely to take the cheap shot award to, okay? Now, let me clarify that very quickly why I say that. Not because he's nasty or mean-hearted or spiteful or a bad person. It's because he understands there's that moment where he gets to be the equalizer. And he's the one receiver that when we do my crack blocking drill, he really lights up. Because he kind of knows that that's training for the one thing that he gets to do, which is hit Lyle and all these linebackers when they're not looking. And he's the right size because you can't see him. And, man, he just comes down there like a missile. And just, man, I love watching that. And the great thing about Tyler, though, that we've untapped or that we've not tapped into is that he can catch. And he's got great hands, and he runs tough routes. And if you watch us in 7-on-7 this year, Peyton, Jace, all these guys, we're throwing to him a lot because he gets in there, and that's why I call him Wes Welker. He's not a guy that's going to get a lot of yards after catch. That's not his game. What he is, he's that third down possession guy that if there's 12 yards, it's got to be had. He's going to get 13. He's going to make the catch. He's going to get hit. He's going to get up and go back to the huddle. He's a receiver, tough guy, and I like that about you, Tyler. Thank you for what you did this year. Christian Ortiz. Christian has outstanding leverage. I've got a video Coach sent me. What did he squat, 500? A little over 500 pounds? And I'm going to tell you something. It is the most intense, his vein in his forehead takes up most of the screen. Because, man, he's gripping that thing, and he's going down and he's coming up. Of course, these guys are all around him, but we put it on the website for a little while. And I'm going to tell you, he is a guy that this year really came along. And he's a guy that he's not a gap player because he's just not quick. But what he is, we're not talking though we don't know. What he is, though, is he's strong. You don't move him back. And that's what you need in a lineman. He'll take those blockers up, and he lets these linebackers run and make tackles. And he's a guy that next year, that's going to be a real force for us. But that's our junior class. All right. Well, we're talking about our seniors. And this banquet is, for the largest part, it is about our team. It's about our freshman team. It's about our playing team, our varsity team. It's about our coaching staff. It's about us as a family. But really, there's probably not a person in here that didn't play Dalton High football that I can't remember my sophomore and my junior and my freshman banquets, but I remember my senior banquet. I remember every word that was said about me. I remember the old beta highlight video we'd watch. You know, it wasn't anything like Brandon does for us now. I can remember people that came up to me after it and said something to me. I can remember taking my jacket off and giving it to Coach Evans, and I remember it was a cold night like tonight, and I remember crying all the way to my Datsun 280ZX that I walked out to and got on, and I drove all the way to Varnell crying the whole way because I knew that tonight was really the end. It was the closing of the chapter, and it was the last time I'd ever put a uniform on. And I can tell you, after going to Auburn, playing for SEC championships and all that kind of stuff, I'm going to tell you, this right here for Matt Land was the best it ever was. This was the best it ever was. And I knew that. I knew that, and there was a great sadness that came over me just thinking about that. And parents, I know you're hurting right now. I can tell you, I dread the day that my little man Cross is up here and this is his last time. I'm telling you, I feel for you because this is a great experience. But the great experience, Mom, Dad, that I want to remind you is not Dalton High football. The great experience is watching your son play football. The great experience is watching your son. I don't know, as a parent, I do not know a better reward in life on this side of eternity. I don't know a better reward in life than seeing my flesh and blood set a goal and do whatever it takes to achieve that goal. 4 years ago, this April the 10th, I went back and looked at the date. I went to the middle school. And I remember talking to this crowd. And I remember looking at them, and Lyle reminded me of this the other day. I remember telling them I'd just gotten the job. And I remember looking at these guys, and I remember saying to them, listen, we're going to win a championship before you leave. I promise you, I'll do everything I can to help you win a championship. But you got to win it. I know this coaching staff, they'll put themselves in every position to put you in the position to be successful. Lyle reminded me the other day just how crazy they thought I was. Am I wrong, Lyle? And so I thought about this today because I'm sitting here thinking to myself, all right, 2012 we go to FCA camp. And I remember us out there and we're going against Grayson and the great Robert Knichi or whatever his name is. You remember that, Chris? And I remember Leighton Reese out there flipping that tire. And I remember the fact, Coach Thompson, we couldn't beat them once, couldn't beat them twice. We had to beat them 3 times. And I remember watching our leadership, our seniors at that time, just be great leaders. But I remember watching these guys, because I focus on that kind of stuff, wanting to know how would they be leaders. I saw them catching fire and getting in that synergy. Well, I don't mind telling you, throughout this year, I thought, God, I hope that ain't the only championship we win. Well, then I pulled out and saw the great Daily Citizen Southeastern 7-on-7 Kiss Your Sister Consolation Championship trophy that I've got down there in my office. And I don't know if it's game 7 or game 8. I'm sitting there thinking, God, surely that ain't the championship we was talking about. I mean, that can't be it. But these guys, as I mentioned earlier, did not give up. All the injuries that we had, all the problems that we had, all the situations that we couldn't control, bye weeks, losses, power outages, these guys stayed the course. And Mom and Dad, I think tonight you need to be as proud of your sons, and particularly you senior parents, you need to be as proud of your sons as any group that's ever stood up here, because to me, this group did more than just win this region championship and bring it back home. This group did a lot of things. First of all, it's the highest GPA group of seniors that we've had in the last 4 years. They've attended more workouts than any group ever has, almost 1,000 workouts. They have the most number of GPA award winners. 2010, there were 7. 2011, there was 8. 2012, there was 9. This year, 11 of the 21 had 3.3 GPAs or higher. Now, you want to know what makes me happy? You don't know why I like to stand up at Rotary, Coach McClurg, and talk about our football team? It ain't the wins and losses. It's that kind of stuff. Because that's what Nick Hyder said when he said, what kind of team will you have? He said, I don't know. I'll tell you in 20 years. These guys are going to be good guys in 20 years because they focus on the right things. It's a special group, obviously, because they were my first group of 4-year players. And I'll never forget Coach McClurg, Coach Chappell, Coach Dye. Every coach I've had has always said this. Your players are always they're a verbal statement and a physical statement of what you want to say about yourself. And what I would say about this group of seniors is you're exactly what I want people to say about our Dalton High football program. That we're tough and we're tenacious, we're loyal, we love each other, we serve each other. There's a high commitment, there's a sacrifice for each other. And at the end of the day, it's all about team. It's not about an individual. It's not about an award. It's about a win for a team. This is the first region championship since 2007, and it's the first seniors to graduate out of here since 2007 that all of their varsity years they made the playoffs. And I sat up here in 2011 and told you that was what I wanted to start. I hated to lose the record. I hated the way we had to lose the record. But what I did know was that record really didn't mean a lot about the way this team always ended. The record that means something now is most consecutive years in the playoff. And that's what you guys have continued. And you set the standard. Juniors, you need to look at these guys. They never knew what it was like to not play game 11. So next year, you need something to get you out of bed at 4:30 in the morning. That's what you need to get out of bed in the morning, knowing you carry that mantra. Because that record is the one that means something. That's the one that's going to bring us now the next championship, which is going to be a state championship. So as I look at this group, seniors, I just want you to know how much this staff loves you, appreciates you, and we appreciate what you did, not giving up and bringing this region trophy back home. So let me begin by talking about first one, Blake Evans. Love you, brother. Blake's another guy, as I've spoken about Matthew. Blake, man, he's been my psychologist. He's been my doctor a couple of times. He had to go get me some Band-Aids and stuff like that. But he has just been such an asset. And his mom and dad, you have such a reason to be proud of him because, a manager does the jobs that these guys won't do. They get written about on Friday night and Saturday morning. He doesn't get anything written about him, but he shows up every day. And he does his job, and he does it with pride, and he works hard. And I'm going to tell you, that guy right there was as much of a leader as anybody that scored a touchdown, made a tackle, or caught a catch. So, Blake, I want you to know we love you and we appreciate you. Nathan Bryant. Love you, brother. Nathan's a guy that, as you heard earlier, he's probably one of the smartest guys I've ever coached in my in my 20 years, not just being head coach, but 21 years of coaching. He is a lover of the game. Nathan and I have spent a lot of time together on the field, off the field, at FCA camp this year. And you truly judge a man by his heart. I know we sometimes put that label on women, and we kind of talk about men being toughness. I'm going to tell you, this guy's as tough as anybody. I saw him play through an injury that I still don't understand. He basically got too skinny. And he ripped the muscle off his hip. And he played every day. And he competed in the 7-on-7, Southeastern 7-on-7. But what I appreciate about Nathan more than anybody is Nathan will hold you accountable. Nathan this year held me accountable. He held me accountable to promises that I made him, promises I made this football team. He held me accountable to promises that I made as a Christian. And the thing that I like about Nathan, and I'm going to always miss about Nathan is one of the highest character guys I've ever been around. And Nathan, I appreciate what you've done for our program. Love you, and once again, thank you for everything you've done. Elijah Stidman. Oh, I did. Elijah is he's like a son. He came in from Valley, Alabama. Which is about the last truck stop that you can get a Diet Coke at on the way to Auburn. And I'll never forget when he came in. And his mother introduced me to him, and he just had this smile on his face. And what encourages me is through all the work, through everything we did, he never lost that smile. He was always happy. He may not have liked what was going on, but he was happy. He had a joy that was inside of him. He's a team-first player. This year, a couple of times, we knew Coach Carpenter and myself, we had some painful conversations because we knew there were some teams we were going to play that his style did not match up with. And you're talking about a guy that's your starter. You're talking about a guy that's got an offer to go to Tusculum. You're talking about a guy that should be helping us, but his style was not what was best for this team. And so instead of playing 50 snaps in the game, he played 20 snaps or 10 snaps in the game. He didn't frown. He didn't pout. He didn't scuttlebutt. He didn't complain. What he did was encourage the guy that had to take his place to help us win. And that's being a leader. Sometimes being a leader is not what we do, and it's not what we say. It's more who we are. And I think that's who you are, Elijah. You're a great leader. Kevin Nguyen. Kevin's another guy. He's high energy. He's a great team guy. He's a guy that unfortunately had to miss some summertime due to some family obligations and stuff. But he came back and knew where he was at, knew he'd missed some time, and he tried his best to work out. He tried his best to catch up, tried his best to continue to do the things to get him back on the field. And I was so proud about Game 4. We were able to get him back on the field and get him playing special teams. And he was a guy that accepted that role and unselfishly did everything he could do. And what was great about him was not his contribution on Friday night. It was Monday through Thursday. Because on Monday through Thursday, I'd look out there, and we don't want some of the seniors to play scout team because of the fact that they've played their dues. You couldn't keep him off the field. He got out there because he knew he made us a better offense. And Kevin, I appreciate that. That's a great quality to have, young man. Lyle Durham. Lyle was obviously at probably majority of the time, he was the leader of our defense. He was our voice. He was intense. He was high effort. He was a guy that in most programs that aren't as blessed as ours to have guys like we have, he would have had to play both ways. Thankfully, we never had to do that with Lyle. But Lyle is a guy that really set the attitude. He set the tempo. He set the temperature for who we wanted to be as a defense. And there was those things, you look in the huddle, and I'll say this about one other guy here in a moment, there's those moments you need somebody on the field to say what you feel or what you want said as a coach, but you're not on the field, you're not in the huddle. Lyle was that guy, and sometimes that made him unpopular. Sometimes that maybe made some teammates look at him and go, man, why are you saying that to me? But he knew that had to be his place. And so, Lyle, appreciate you stepping up and taking that role this year. Next, Chris Childs. Tell you two things about Chris. One is Chris quit playing football his sophomore year, right, Coach Napier? He was a dual threat quarterback, and he was a receiver and he was a running back, but he wasn't a defensive back. And he told me, "I'm not a defensive back. I don't like to tackle. I can catch, I can score, I can run." And you know what? That sounds like basketball, so I'm going to play basketball. And so he was for about 72 hours, he was a basketball-only player. And thankfully, Coach Duffy talked to him and said, you know what, Chris, I know you want to be a basketball player, but, we need you to be a tough basketball player, and you just can't get tough anywhere better than football. So he came out to a Sunday throwing session, and Coach Napier and I kind of huddled up and got him in there and put a little peer pressure on him in the turf room after everybody left. And he promised that he'd come out the next day, and next week we made him promise he'd come out the next week. And next thing you know, he's sitting here today, and I'm going to tell you, Coach Thompson, he's one of the best corners we've ever coached. Am I wrong? He has one problem, and this is his problem. And Jordan becoming a great corner helped us with his problem. He's one of the best tacklers on our defense, and that's normally not what a cornerback is. You put those guys out there to cover, especially in this world of Deion Sanders and these Sherman guys and all that. They don't tackle, they just cover. They're track guys. That guy likes to hit. And he allowed us to do some things from our boundary side when Jordan was able to go to the field. It wasn't a demotion for him. It was the fact that we allowed him to be able to now come up and do what he did best, which was tackle. But here's what's funny. He's got an offer from Tusculum. He's going to go hopefully there or wherever if there's somebody else that comes in. But I'm going to tell you what the coach said to me was the reason why they offered him, and I've never told him this. They watched him coach the younger guys during practice. They said, that's not common. Said normally when a starter comes out, he goes and gets his drink, and he's sitting over there, and he's yapping it up, waiting for his time to go back in. Chris would never get water, even at camp. He'd stay out there, and if Austin came in or whoever, or Charlie, even Charlie sometimes would come over, he was right there. He was coaching him, telling him what to do. In a game, young guys, he's up there. He's not back there yakking it up with everybody after the game. We're beating Lafayette 64-0. He's not back there yakking it up. He's up there beside Coach Thompson and almost got a 5-yard penalty for us because he was on the field. Why? He was coaching. And that's the reason why he's the player he is. I put down here, this is what you are to me. You're a driven teacher. And I tell you, one day you'll probably be in a place like this working because I'm going to tell you, that's a God-given talent, and you're good at it. And I appreciate how you made our team better this year. Jacob Bartu. I kind of wrote some phrases tonight. Now, I love this about Jacob. He's a small giant. Now, that's whatever you call that, oxymoron or dichotomy or whatever you want to call it, catch-22, whatever. Here's the great thing about him. That's exactly what he is. He's a small giant. He's small in stature. He don't need to be told that. He knows that. Puts his pants on every day like everybody else. Here's what he does, though. He doesn't know that. And I hope none of y'all ever tell him that, because what he does is he uses his limitation to his strength. He understands that because he's small, that means that guy on the other side of the ball is probably going to underestimate him. And he uses that to his advantage. We saw it time and time again when you'd watch during the film. The thing about him is, though, is he would never let himself be the guy that didn't get the chance. He made you tell him get off the field. He made us tell him we want to run Logan on the power, not you. And it never failed. It'd be 3rd and 2, and who'd we put out there at power? I'd look over at Coach Sparks, and I'm like, why is Jacob in there? And the reason being because Jacob wanted to be in there. And that is what makes Jacob a great player. It's not the fact of what he can and can't do, it's what he wants to do. And Jacob, that's what I appreciate about you. And I know you'll be successful, but it's because you got a lot of want to. And I love that about you. Thank you for being that example to our football team. Gerardo Perez. This is the ninja. I may be closer to this guy than maybe anybody else on this team, and not just because of height. This guy is one of the most honest people I've ever been around in my life. And he'll tell you, or he would tell me things that I'm just telling you, it would blow me away. Things that he wanted me to think about or pray about or just wanted us to talk about or something he had going on in class. And, it's just, and I know y'all know this because I've got a teenager at home just like you do. Sometimes they get to this age, honesty is sometimes gets leveraged. Sometimes honesty is more of a backdoor answer as opposed to an upfront conversation. He's always honest, and I could ask him anything. And I'm going to tell you, he didn't play much football for us. He came out late, played a lot of scout team for us. He got in and ran a couple of times. We had to get him out to save his life a couple of times. But, man, I'm going to tell you, I love you. And man, I'm going to tell you, it's just been a great pleasure to coach you, and I'm glad you're still alive. But I do love you, bud. I do love you. Devontae Davis. John Brown, I'm going to borrow something from you that you told me one time because I concur. We called him DVD, but John Bryant reminded me that his nickname is Blu-ray because he's a whole lot better than DVD. And I'm going to tell you something. That's true. DVD was a guy defensive coaches, where have we not played him? We literally have played him. I even think, I'm sure in one of our kamikaze defenses on JV, we've ran him probably on defense somewhere in the, nose tackle or something. But Devontae was always wanting to be whatever we needed him to be. And there was weeks that Coach Carpenter would put together a blitzing plan, and we needed Devontae to be a blitzer. We needed him to just come off the corner and go up there and make the hit and be the contained guy, and that's what we needed. And then we turn around the next week because we knew somebody was watching film on us and knew that we blitzed from the weak side. And then this week we're going to bring Eder. So now we need you to not come. We need you to show it. And now we need you to drop in pass coverage. Man, he just, every week, he was solid. He was consistent. And, he wasn't perfect. He wasn't perfect because we knew that sometime, that's like taking, a dog in a meat shop. He wanted to go hit. But that wasn't what we needed as a team. And if I take that in parallel with his life, and I'm going to say something very personal about you. You're a great dad. This guy's got one of the most beautiful little girls. And I'm going to tell you, guys, as important as you are and as important as you've been to him, I know what's most important in his life. And it's that little thing that came in the world with his last name. And I'm going to tell you something, that's a big responsibility to take, son. And there's not a dad up here that doesn't admire you for what you've done. You've been a great, great model. I can tell you, that guy, I don't know if he'll be on the sideline next year or a carpet mill, but I can tell you this, wherever he'll be, it'll be the best organization because DVD's there, and that's the Blu-ray. So now I got to call you Blu-ray. I love you, Devontae. Jay Rocco. Jay's another guy that's not going to stand up and quote, Hamlet to you. He's not a talker, and we recognize that. And Coach Carpenter kind of learned it the hard way. There's a couple of days I can remember us being in the dressing room and him just saying, I think he's mute. I don't think he says a word. He said, I've tried everything. You don't say nothing. But what I realized is, and you guys know what I'm talking about, that sign on that church when we went to Tusculum this year. You remember what it said? It said, always, what? Be a witness. Use words if necessary. Always be a witness. Use words if necessary. This was a guy that his life is his witness. His life is his testimony to how he plays this game. I remember Jack State, sophomore year, dislocating his elbow. And just seeing that thing not looking like it's supposed to look. And, his first question was not, are they going to cut it off or nothing like that. His first question was, Coach, how long am I out? And that's when we knew we had a great player. And, he's not been a superstar. He's not been a guy that makes 100 tackles. He's not a guy he's a guy that to me, he's that centerpiece of the puzzle. When you put a puzzle together, you know what I'm talking about? You find that one piece that's recognizable and all the other pieces kind of connect to. That was you this year to me. You were that puzzle piece that everybody kind of connected to. And I'm going to tell you, I appreciate that about you. That's a great quality to have. Next is Grant Sane. Grant's a perfectionist. He's dependable. He's a workaholic. He's a high-character guy. He made his mother proud. He made his brother proud. I know he made his father proud. And I'm going to tell you something. I just remember watching him snap that ball into that goalpost. And we've got this. I knew we bought it, Coach. We had this contraption that he could snap into, but he told me the holes were too big. He wanted to hit Eder right on the thigh. So if he could hit Eder on the thigh, he had to hit that goalpost. And that's what he'd do. And finally we had to get, Coach Napier don't know this. We stole about 5 balls from Coach Napier and took over to him because I got tired of watching him snap, and then he'd walk. And then he'd snap, and he'd walk again. And he just stayed with it. And I'm going to tell you, that's a great thing because when he came in and told me that he wanted to snap, I really was not happy because I thought Grant could help us on our offensive line. He had had a great first 2 years. But that is a job, and I snap, so I know, and a lot of our coaches did too, that is a thankless job, and it's one that does not get any. It doesn't get any thanks until you do something wrong, okay? I don't think one bad snap in 3 years. 0. Well, that shows you what I know. Now, there's one I had to get mad at you for. Eder said there was one high. That's right. I don't mean a bad one. I mean just not you. But the great thing about it is, he took his job and he understood. It was a small job, but it was the most important job to him. And I appreciate your attention to detail, and I appreciate you working that hard. Jordan Keener. Jordan's the only guy I know that shaved for his kindergarten picture. And had probably been doing it a couple of years. Jordan is another one of those that I actually think he lives at my house some. Because it's so funny, because I'll come in and Jordan will be at my house sometimes. And, my wife might be there, or he might be just, hey, I came by to see if you need any help, and I come walking in right behind him. But, here's what I would say about Jordan. Jordan is my friend. Jordan and I have had some conversations this year that, to be honest with you, I don't think I've ever had with a player. But he's a great listener, and he cares. And he sent me one of the best texts this year that did more for me Saturday when you sent me that text. That meant more to me than anything. And I'm going to tell you, if you don't get anything tonight, I hope you leave with this. Life ain't about the big things. I hope you know that. Life's about little things. Little things that you and I are too rushed to do and are extremely insignificant in our eyes. But let me tell you something. It's the little things that matter. You always did the little things. We'd watch film as a defensive staff and watch him do something that was so little, so molecular, so small. But yet it helped our defense. It freed our linebackers up. It did something. And I'm going to tell you, at our region meeting, the reason why not one single coach in our region didn't recognize how good of a player you were and what you meant to our defense. And to me, that's a hard thing to achieve when you're not the biggest, the fastest, the strongest. And so I appreciate Jordan. I appreciate your work ethic and what you did. Dakota Tankersley. Dakota's another guy that I'm going to say this about. I said I'd say it twice. Just like Jay, he was that piece of the puzzle. There were guys that are around him that were bigger and probably better than him, but he was the key. As a lot of you guys know, that center position, I'll tell you up front, I said it last year. I was more worried about replacing B.J. Rowland this year than I was replacing Cole Calfee, because that center's the guy that touches it first. The quarterback don't get it until the center gets it. The quarterback doesn't touch it until he puts it between his legs and either puts it in that guy's hands or snaps it to him in the shotgun. And I knew that we had a serious problem there, not because of what he couldn't do, but because of what we had the capability of doing. We're one of the few teams that pulls our center. Coach, I don't think that messed us up a bit, did it? We pulled him just like we did BJ. He came in and snapped. I can't think of very many, if any. We had some snap problems at first, but he was snapping to two different quarterbacks. Once we settled in and had one guy, he never missed his snaps. And I'm going to tell you, I just watched you every game. There's not one game I ever remember asking one of our coaches about your effort. You always graded out 100% effort. You never had any lows. And to me, that's a great attitude right there. And, to just watch you and to see how he got better and to see how our teammates got better as a result of him, that's what's encouraging to me. And I hope as players you sometimes understand it's not about you getting better to make us better. It's you making us better because you get better. So thank you very much, Dakota. We appreciate you. Juan Pacheco. If you can ever see Juan eating in a restaurant, you need to take a picture of it. Because this is one of the great memories that I have. We walked in Las Palmas one night, and I had never seen Juan's family. I'd just seen them here and there. And if you see that first table when you walk in Las Palmas, it's that horseshoe-shaped one. Juan is sitting in the middle of the horseshoe. Okay? There's 2 or 3 family members on both sides of Juan, all about 1/3 of his size. I'm sitting there watching him, and as he's eating, his family is like putting parts of their plate on his plate. So it's kind of like he's the the compactor. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he's kind of getting it. And he's just sitting there smiling. You know, I mean, I'm looking for somebody with the feathers, you know, back there, you know, just waved him. But he's got this great smile on his face, kind of like he's got right now. But I'm going to tell you something about Juan. I had a lot of reservations about Juan because obviously not being the smallest guy on the team, there's a speed challenge there. And I'm going to tell you something. If he was fast, for a guy to move 342 pounds for 52 snaps at full speed, that requires a lot. And I'm going to tell you something. That guy every time gave us the best he had. And sometimes it was slow. Sometimes we'd have to start him the play before. But the thing about him was that guy always, once he locked on you, you were not going nowhere. First of all, you couldn't get around him, but beyond that, man, he would get him, and I mean, he would finish the block, just watching him do that. But the thing that I think Coach Mayo brought out to me, which is the greatest thing about him, Coach, and you said it at least probably 2 or 3 times, is the fact this is his senior year. He started last year. He ought to start this year. But he split time at tackle with Andrew Williams because that made us a better football team because now instead of him having to play 52 snaps, he only had to play 26 or 30 snaps. It also made us a better team because now we've got a returning starter coming back. He understood that. In his silent language, he understood that. And it was just great to see a guy. He never one time, Coach, pouted. He never one time complained. He never one time came and said, what am I doing wrong? You know, nobody ever called us. Nobody came in business and said, why am I someplace? All he did was to do his best every day. And I'm going to tell you, Juan's a guy that when I look at our football team, he is the exact person that I would ever want representing us because while he ain't going to say anything, I'm telling you, he's going to live it. And I appreciate you for being authentic. We've talked about that word. You're authentic, Juan, and we appreciate you. Jake Roberts. Jake is probably one of the best offensive linemen that I think I know in the 20 years that I've coached. But beyond that, what Jake is a football player. One of the first things I learned about offensive line is that you got to have one guy that's got an edge. You got to have one guy that really likes hitting the guys that weigh less than him because those guys are running around like flies. It's easy to block that big old lug in front of you. Well, the thing about Jake is Jake many times blocked his man, worked to the second level, and then got to the third level. And that's how, Patrick Gregory, you've seen it. You saw it up in the box. That's how you break long runs. You don't break long runs because you got guys that are fast. You can do that every now and then. You break it because there's a guy busting his hump, getting down the field, and blocking the guy that's down the field. Amen? He knows it. Kelvis knows it. Nolan knows it. And I'm going to tell you, they broke off his butt a lot this year. And we've got a lot of guys. And I'm going to tell you, that's undervalued on every level. Jake's a guy that I know is going to be at the next level. He's probably going to be a center because of his size. But at the end of the day, somebody's going to get a steal of him because I'm going to tell you, he's one of the best football players and one of the toughest football players I've ever seen. And the last thing I'd say about him, he was the guy that I talked about earlier. He didn't say much. But he was the guy that always said in the huddle what needed to be said. And these guys respected him. They knew that when he spoke, he meant business. So, Jake, thank you very much, bud. Chase Todd. Chase Todd's he is a high-energy guy. He is ADD on steroids. And but what he is, man, he is passionate about life. And I watch him at swim practice. I watch him at football practice. I watch him I love watching him in course. That guy is passionate. And for somebody like me, a lot of you guys know, I love that about him. He loves life. And he's going to give the best he's got at whatever he's doing. And I'm going to tell you, this year, we really didn't know Coach Carpenter. We didn't know how he fit in our scheme because he didn't have the size that we needed, but we thought he could get the strength that we needed, but we really didn't. Well, the speed wasn't the rush guy that we needed, so we had so many reasons for him not to be what we needed until we got to camp and he showed us why we needed him. He became the fiber. If we had a heart of the defense, he was the fighter. He kind of kept it together. Right, Chipper? I mean, he was coaching the other side across the line. I mean, he's coaching the other end. That's what made him such a great player and made him such a value to us. And, Chase, I really appreciate, Chase, how you have just, man, you have blossomed into being one of the great football players that I've been around, because you made it fun. And I know you made it fun for your coaches, and I appreciate that. Arabeth Martinez. Arabeth is a guy that I could probably just end on what love you, man, on what Mr. Felker said about him, because he's all of that, and he's real and he's authentic, and he's a guy that for his whole career he never started a football game. His whole career he played scout team every day. His whole career he never caught a touchdown. His whole career he never got written about in the paper. His whole career, nobody ever depended on him to win a game. His whole career, nobody ever would have thought that he was the most important guy in our team on certain weeks, because he came to work and would not let us take him off scout team. He knew Monday through Thursday that was where his value was. He stayed on our scout team offense and would not let me take him out, would not let me move him over. And when we had injury, he'd run over there and play. And when I looked for him again, he wouldn't be back there standing with the first. Oh, I'm at the first and now I'm over. No, he'd be back on the scout team. I'd have to go get him off the scout team. And if there's ever a guy that I look at and say time ran out on Arabeth, because Arabeth was becoming a very good football player. And he had great hands, and he just really did a lot of good for us in practice. And that made us game ready every single week. And Arabeth, I appreciate your selflessness. I appreciate your sacrifice for our team, and I appreciate for how you loved making us better. That was always fun to be around, so I love you. Thank you very much, Arabeth. Roderick Davidson. I love you, brother. This is the Puma. The original black cat. This guy was, and I can't get too personal because I won't make it through, but I'm just going to tell you, he's got one of the great life stories to ever come out of Dalton High football. And if you ever look at football, if you ever look at a bunch of 16, 15, 18, 17-year-old boys and a bunch of grown men that are still living off old testosterone, let me tell you something. It's not a waste of time because of Roderick Davidson. Roderick Davidson is the guy that one day is going to share his life story. He's going to share where he's come from and where he's going. And I can't wait to see him, because I remember when there wasn't a smile on his face. But to see him now, to see him at camp, he's one of the few people I've ever seen smile at camp. Am I right, guys? And not just at dinner time. I mean, he was smiling. Because he understood that this game is so much more than what you see as a parent. And it's so much more than what they write in the paper. It's so much more than what they talk about on the radio. That it's about relationships. It's about being one heartbeat. And, watching him at FCA camp get that one heartbeat. And his heart beating with that team heartbeat. To come to where this year we look at him and some of the plays that he's made, only his athleticism could do. Now, there's things he couldn't do. But what he did do, he was great at. And I loved knowing that he had a role on this team, and he was a role player. And Roderick, you and I, man, we've had a lot of great conversations, but I'm going to tell you, this guy is going to be something one day. He's one of those guys that is chosen. He's one of those guys that God's going to bless, because I'm going to tell you, he's faithful. You are faithful to Dalton football, and we appreciate you. We love you. Salvador Alejandre, Jr. He's a guy I don't like right now because he's lost a lot of weight. Kind of makes me feel bad, but it won't be long. But he is a guy, I'll get over it. He is a guy that I mean, in that Heritage game, when he broke that arm, it really galvanized, I think, our team on a level. It galvanized because he's the guy that I was talking about earlier. he had something come up that he couldn't be here every day. Nobody wanted to be out there more than Sal did. Sal's worked 2 jobs. Sal has provided for his family. Sal has been an inspiration. Sal has been absent because he just couldn't be there. He had commitments he had to take. But the thing about Sal was, and I think every senior would say this, could we depend on Sal? We could depend on Sal. We could depend on Junior to do what Junior said he would do. And I know that there's so many times we looked out there and he'd come into practice and he'd have one shoe on, one shoe off. And I didn't know if it was because, Coach Bennett had chewed it off but we knew as coaches he was doing the best he could do. And I want to tell you, your best was always enough. And I'm so proud that you got to play as much as you did this year and make the contribution before you got hurt. And we love you and thank you, Sal, for what you've done. Miguel Flores. Miguel is a guy that learned the game as he went. He came out late. He didn't understand a lot about football, but he understood the part that mattered the most, and that was being a great teammate. He was a guy that I would watch so many times. Some of these guys would not even know him maybe. And he'd go by and he'd just pat him on the butt. Or we'd be outside standing in a group and one of the coaches might chew somebody out. He was the first one. And I get the view. I get to pull it back and see. You guys don't get to. He's one of the first ones to go to that person and say something positive to him. I'm going to tell you, that's a great attribute to have in life. Miguel, we appreciate you being a great teammate, and you were. And last and certainly not least, I didn't call you yet. Sit back down. Nah, you've earned this one, buddy. You just stay right there. Pepe the Dancing Bear, Nigel Gardea. Pepe is a guy that we recruited off the soccer team legitimately and legally. Say, put that disclaimer out there for everybody. Our soccer team, let me say that. I'm at the Southeast game, and he kicks a ball, and I'll tell you this, I don't understand soccer. I just know that it's not as good as hockey because they can fight. But I'm watching him, and he kicks a ball from the goal in the air beyond the other goal. And Coach Cheese is like just getting in his grill about kicking it too far. Well, now this is going to get me, and there's now going to be video to prove it. His biggest fan, Big Red, yeah, you need to edit this out, Brandon, comes up to me and says, and I won't do them, I'm not going to do it long, says, you need to get him out there. Now, he said it a lot more colorful than I did, obviously. It involves some saliva, too. But you know what? I went to him and I said, Pepe, you don't really, you're a great soccer player. You think you might just want to come out and just kick. Well, we tried this experiment his first 2 years. Ken Brown came up to me one time and said, he ought to be playing tight end. Well, he didn't want to play tight end. Okay, that's a little more work than he bargained for. He liked sitting back there eating burritos and kicking. I figured that up right off the bat. I was afraid he's going to take up smoking if I gave him any more time, though. But anyhow, back to the story. I look at old Pepe, and I told him. I said, Pepe, just do this. If you just come down the practice field and just kick a few balls. I'm not going to come down there and watch you. You just come kick a few balls. Well, he comes down there, and we got him some balls out there, and I left him out there, and I was just going to walk up, and I was done. I hear what sounds like a car wreck. Bam! And I look out there, and this ball is bouncing off the track and over the fence. I turn around, and he does it again. Bam! And it got to where it was like a stinking shotgun. And he would kick this thing. And, man, he kicked about 4, and I just went down there, and I said, listen, There's a place for you, and all you got to do is kick. I said, you don't have to do anything else. I said, we'll even work out a practice schedule for you, okay? He had some other outside interest, I'm sure. I was giving up the farm because our defensive coaches know. A guy that can put the ball in the end zone and makes a high school offense drive 80 yards or 75 yards this year every time, that is value. That is value. Now, somebody came up with the idea of him being a tight end this year during the 7-on-7 competition. Yeah, and that didn't last very long, did it? We actually saw him sweat, which was a foreign concept to him. But I'm going to tell one story about him because he deserves this. We have this thing called head. And we're playing a team last year, and he has a talent with the ball, and that is he can kick it hard. And sometimes he's just plain out lucky. Well, we'd take a dummy and run it out there, and he could kick the dummy. So I told him, I said, one day I'm going to call head, and that's just where you pick out somebody you want to kick the ball at, and you kick him. Well, we were up on this team a little bit. And, you know, you see us down there on the sidelines. We wanted to have a little fun, so we brought him up. And I said, all right, I think it's about time. And everybody knew what, head. We're going to go head. And I look over, he's already out on the field. He ain't even listening to me. He heard that first part. Somebody translated it, and he's out there, okay? Well, next thing I know, he teased that ball up, and one day you're going to have, one of us has got to go apologize to this kid. He kicks the ball, and it's like a car hits him. Bam! And that kid just drops to his knees. The ball goes straight up in the air. Elijah missed it. Somebody else got it. Fast forward 3 months, we're in here at the coaches' region meeting, and that coach comes up to me and says, Coach, you remember that guy that kicked that onside kick for you guys? I said, yeah. He said, he broke that kid's neck. I said, what? He said, straight up, he broke that guy's neck. He said he was out like the next 6 weeks, and he said, I've never seen that in my life. So at that point, that's why you guys didn't know. We never did that again. We didn't need any more legal problems. So anyhow, well, guys, that right there is your senior class. All right. Now we'll move into the presentation of the individual awards for our coaches.
Well, before I make the first presentation, I want the Alabama fans out in the audience to take out your smartphone. Well, you're Alabama people, so get your flip phone out. And mark down the date of January 10th, 2014. Because us Tennessee fans know that that's the beginning of the apocalypse for Alabama football. Lane Kiffin is now your offensive coordinator, and we are really happy. So congratulations, Alabama fans. Now, after my editorial comment, we'll move on. For the second year in a row, it's my pleasure to present the permanent captains for our football team. The four young men tonight were selected in a vote by their teammates. And kind of the unique thing about it is they're all very different from each other in personality and football skills, but they all share the trait of leadership. But even in leadership skills, they're different. Lyle and Ed are very vocal. They're out in front of the team. You see them; they're out in front of the program, leading with their voices. And you've got Jake and Nathan that were very, very quiet, but were great leaders and led by example. We're going to miss our three seniors on and off the field, but we're fortunate to have Eder back for one more year. So on behalf of your other coaches and teammates, I want to say thank you to our four captains, Lyle Durham, Eder Mora, Nathan Bryant, and Jake Roberts. Congratulations, guys. Wow. Congratulations. Thank you. Nate? Congratulations, Eder. Thank you. Proud of you, buddy.
Tonight I get the opportunity to present the Defensive MVP Award as voted on by their fellow teammates. This young man exemplifies football on the field, but also carries that passion off the field. So the 2013 Defensive MVP goes to Eder Moore.
I'll be presenting the most valuable offensive player. The young man that receives this award is a team player, very good teammate. Say it how different ways. He's all about the team. Hard worker, has leadership skills, has the respect of all of his teammates. I think he has a great future in football as well as in life. He rushed for 855 yards this year, which was about 400 less than last year, but there was reasons for that. He scored 17 touchdowns, caught 5 passes for 103 yards. But just to show you the value that he meant to our team, the 3 games we lost, I think he played a total of 2 plays. And the games we won, you know, he played 50 plays a game. I know when I first met him, he's an 8th grader, and then the first impression was very good. I've been coaching 35 years, and there's a lot of kids that I'm proud of, and he's one of them. And just on a light note, I think when he was born, he could already talk. And our MVP offense is, come on up here, Kelvis Rhodes.
My name is Brad Smith, and I'm proud to be a Catamount, and I appreciate all y'all accepting me and my family. It's been awesome for me and my family. I know that. I'm certainly honored to represent and present the Jim Arnold Special Teams Award. A little bit about Jim Arnold: he was a former Catamount punter, played for the University of Vanderbilt, was All SEC, and ended up playing for the Detroit Lions and was an All-Pro there. A little bit about this guy that won it. Coach Land alluded to how much he worked, and he's a lot like us as an offensive lineman. He doesn't get a lot of acknowledgement, and that's a good thing. The only time we get recognized is when we do something bad. We give up a sack or something like that. And the same thing goes for Grant. If you don't know his name, that's always a good thing, because the snap's getting there on time, and he makes Kiko have confidence, Eder have confidence, and he does a great job for that. So this year's Jim Arnold Special Teams Award goes to Grant Singh.
I say this every year. It is a privilege to be a Dalton High Catamount. 12 years ago, about 2 months after I got married, Coach McClure called and offered me a job. And I thank him every time I see him for getting me back to North Georgia, especially to the Catamount Nation. My beautiful wife over here lets me do what I love to do. Today's her birthday, and I had to leave early to go be with these boys in the weight room. Love her so much, and just thank you. Good part of my life. You want to sing for her? Okay. Go ahead.
1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Hey, happy birthday to you. Hey, happy birthday, dear Thompson. Happy birthday to you. Hey.
I promised her I would not do that, but thank you, Eder, for that. I'm in trouble when I get home, but thank you. Okay, I'm up here to give the Judge Purdon Leadership Award. Judge Purdon was the founder of the Quarterback Club, 1940s. He was a leader in the community and to help to start the Catamount Nation. I looked up the leadership definition, and leadership is the act of heading a group or of people or an organization. Leaders lead in several ways, either verbal or nonverbal, but before anyone will follow them, they must fully believe and trust in that person. And that trust is not given to you, you got to earn it. This young man I've been with for 4 years, one of the best secondary groups I've ever coached. And when Coach Carpenter and Coach Land comes up with the defensive secondaries, I know how he gets it so fast now. Nathan Bryant with a 4.7. Okay, he gets it before I do, and he gets everybody lined up. He's the quarterback of the secondary. He's one of those young men that's going to come back to this community and lead this community. He's one of those young men that I want my little boy to grow up to be like because of how he handles himself. It's no showboating. He just does his thing. He shows up every day and he works. Somebody comes into the weight room and I need to talk to him and we're doing some things. I'll say, Nathan, call it out. He calls it out and he keeps everybody on track. I love him to death. This year's award winner is Nathan Bryant.
The Golden Helmet Sportsmanship Award. Heart of a Lion, Courage of David, one of those living stones talked about in 1 Peter, where it says, you are also as living stones, being built up a spiritual house, a holy priesthood, to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God through Jesus Christ. This young man is exactly everything a high school football is actually about. You see, high school football is not about great stars. It's about boys becoming men. And this guy, if there's a building stone, if there's a cornerstone, if there's a rock that high school football starts on, it's got to be on guys like this. The Dalton Catamount Football Golden Helmet Sportsmanship Award goes to Jacob Bartu.
We're moving along pretty fast for a change. But I'm going to slow it down for a minute. I'm going to just remind you, as you folks are sitting there, and we talked about I do equipment. If you look at your tables, these are helmets we worn this year. We've already sent half of them back for reconditioning. Our kids are equipped probably as good as any high school team in the state. Okay? And what you see on the table, every helmet that we wore this year, it'll go back to reconditioning. So when your son puts it on next fall, it'll either be brand new or it'll be recertified. Okay? So what you see there, it's got a lot of battle scars on it, some of them more than others. Okay? But your children are equipped very well. We're giving the Erwin Mitchell Award, and Coach Long asked me today, said, you want me to go first or you going to go first? And the first I told him, I said, well, you go first, and that way if anything you mess up, I'll take care of it. And then I asked him, do you even have any idea who Erwin Mitchell was? And, of course, he didn't. So the new guy on the block, I couldn't do that to him. You folks have been around for a while. Erwin Mitchell was very instrumental in the quarterback club. Red blazers that these guys are wearing. When Coach Chappell started this thing, he went to Erwin and said, if the guy's dad is the CEO or he's the third shift creeler at Shaw, we want our kids to be on the same plane. So that's where the Red Blazers started, okay? Erwin Mitchell was very instrumental in that. Team guy, okay? This award, I got a little scripture tonight. Chuck's already left. Coach Sparks did some quotes here. Go to 1 Corinthians 12 through 20. It's the passage about the body, many parts, okay? Human body has many parts, but many parts make up one body. Football team's got a lot of parts, okay? A lot of moving parts, but there's one team. Said God made our bodies, and I'm condensing everything down. These guys know as I quote on the field sometime, I bend quotes a lot of times. God made our bodies with many parts, but he put each part where he wants it, where he needs it. And as I listen to this thing about the kids and getting awards tonight, you got a lot of guys getting awards that you didn't see their name in the paper a lot, okay? But they're what make us successful. This award, and it's a co-award tonight, there are two guys getting this. Doesn't always go to the guys that you see on the field Friday night or that you read their name in the paper. It goes to guys that understand their role on the team. And a lot of times that role is not what they want it to be. But they understand they've got a place and they can contribute. And if they do their job, the team's going to be successful. And because the team succeeds, then they succeed too. As a senior this year, this young man realized his playing time was going to be limited. And he could become a complainer or a contributor. He chose to be a contributor. Scout team, he was enthusiastic. He was encouraging his teammates in practice as they came off the field. He understood that he was part of the body. Wasn't the face or the hands, okay, but he was a part that contributed. First recipient or co-recipient of this award, Miguel Flores.
All right, before I get to the second person who won the Erwin Mitchell Award, I want to say thank you for accepting me into the Dalton Catamount family. Thank you, Coach Land, for bringing me here. I'm so thankful to be here. Mr. Bartu, Coach McKinney, Mr. Ward, if you're here, thank you so much for just allowing me to be part of this family. I'm a traditionalist. I love legacy. I love tradition. And thank you, Coach McClurg. I've yet to meet you, but you and Coach Chappell built something very special here, and I'm thankful that I get to experience that and all the work that you've put in. Thank you to all the coaches here who have been helpful mentors and helping me grow as a coach, helping me grow as a teacher. I'm forever indebted to you. I feel like God has put me in a great place to learn, and I'm very admirable of each and every one of you and just where you've helped me get to this point. But more importantly, you've helped me grow spiritually more than any other aspect of my life, and I'm forever thankful for that. The second person to win the Erwin Mitchell Team Spirit Award always had a great attitude. They're always positive. He's a hard worker. He's very respectful and extremely coachable. The number one thing he's got that really all of us should aspire to have is a catamount spirit. The only thing he wants is for Dalton to be successful, for his teammates to be successful, and it's such an admirable quality to have. T.J. Hornsby, congratulations.
All right. This player might not be the most talkative player on the team, but that didn't really hold back on showing that he could be a leader. He showed that actions spoke louder than words, giving 110% on everything that he could do. At the end of each season, he looked like a heavyweight boxer that just went the distance with Mike Tyson, playing through broken bones, dislocated elbows, rolled ankles, and trying to sneak in with concussions. You could say that he lived up to his name of Rocky. His determination would drive the consistent effort and play that made Rocky a pleasure to coach. You knew that it didn't matter to him if it was one guy or 5 guys. He'd try to take them on all at the same time. So I'm proud to present the Brandon Brown Production Influence Award to J. Rockholt.
All right, what makes a good teammate? You know, can you define it? Can you look it up? Can you Google it? All right, what makes a good teammate for everyone, player and coach, is different. You know, maybe a good teammate is someone like Lyle, who meticulously grooms his sweaty friends in the locker room in a very disgusting act of service, but service nonetheless. Maybe a teammate is someone like Jordan McKinney, who's willing to share his jockstrap and compression shorts with any of his buddies who forgot theirs, as an example of staff-causing generosity. Perhaps a good teammate is, acts like an alarm clock, like Ed or Mora. But instead of when you hit the snooze and you get 10 more minutes to gently wake up, he tackles you into the wall. All right. The winner of this year's Best Teammate has many of these qualities, but so many more. Salvador Alejandre is known by Sal or Junior to his teammates and coaches, or as we like to say in the United States of America, Junior with a D. Sal played defensive tackle for us, and before the season started, he had a rough personal situation that caused Sal to have to step back from football in order to work 2 jobs. One of these jobs was at the Dairy Queen, so Sal was no fool. All right, he was working somewhere with tasty treats. Sal expressed his concern to the coaches and team that he wouldn't be able to be at all the practices or camps. We wanted us to know that he was doing the best he could and was only worried about letting us down. The thing is that Sal showed with this act that what a teammate truly was, willing to share with others a very personal situation and step aside when necessary to do what was best for the team. Sal unfortunately broke his arm against Heritage in the latter part of the season, but what you might not know is that Sal was part of a very elite pass rush move known as the shake and bake. This move was considered so lethal to opponents that our good friends at the GHSA actually prohibited us from using it in live competition. Sal found a way to execute the shake and bake under the nose of the GHSA and proceeded to lay waste to the generals. The sheer velocity in which the shake and bake was executed caused a wind vortex that sucked the older Rockholt into it with such speed and violence that Sal's arm was caught in the carnage. As Sal lay there on the field, his arm broken, the first thing he said to Dr. Wilson was, "When can I go back to work?" After a long pause, "It's my Dairy Queen ice cream arm. It's my moneymaker." All kidding aside, Sal's the definition of a teammate, selfless in every action to both his team, coaches, but most importantly to his family. This year's Coaches Award for Best Teammate goes to Salvador Alejandro.
What Coach Lamb was wanted me to announce is that Coach Bennett's mom wrote that speech. And now, really, we do want you to know that these awards are voted on by the team and not only by the coaches. I have the last award, and I'm honored to present the Dr. Conrad Easley Comeback Player of the Year Award. Dr. Easley personifies really what this program is all about. He's a graduate of Dalton High School from 1958. It's kind of neat. His older 2 brothers were the starting quarterback and running back in the 1930s. And that's what makes this whole program, I think, so great, the tradition. He went on to North Georgia College, where he was a running back, had a great career, and went on actually to be the company commander of the 101st Airborne Division, and actually had 3 jumps in Vietnam. But then he chose to come back here to Dalton, where he has been on the sideline of every Dalton Catamount game for 41 years. And I would like to ask Dr. Conrad Easley to stand up. He is what this program's all about. And I'm honored to present the Comeback Player of the Year. It's probably not a real big surprise. This player got hurt at the West Georgia camp, missed the first 2 games. When he came back, we won 8 games in a row in the region championship, as Coach Napier told you. So the Comeback Player of the Year award is Kelvis Rhodes. Congratulations.
On behalf of my teammates, we would like to extend some special thanks. First, we would like to thank all the students in the Pep Club who made the wonderful signs for us. We love seeing them here in the halls and on the field. We also appreciate the cheerleaders and their wonderful goodie bags. We would also like to thank everyone who worked on the awesome run-through signs. There are so many people that we want to thank. Thank you to the senior moms for having our scrapbooks, the senior dinners, and all the gifts. To all the people who spoke at our senior dinners, thank you for your inspiring words. A special thanks to Chuck Harris, who gave our devotion every week during pregame. We also want our mentors to know that not only the seniors, but the whole team appreciates all of the support you gave us in so many ways. Week after week, we found notes in our lockers and text messages from people in our community. Thank you to the Crutchfields for allowing us to have our gathering at Crutchfield Farm. We also appreciate the movie night in the Land's backyard during spring practice. Thank you for caring about each one of us and taking the time to pray for us. You reminded us why Catamount football is so special. We will look forward to giving back to the program in the years to come. We appreciate the quarterback club, Mr. Felker and Mr. Brown, for all your hard work. We love treats, and Moon Pie Monday and Popsicle Tuesday are 2 of our favorites. Thank you to the Pep Club and the cheerleaders for your support. We would like to thank all the people who worked with the Catamount tailgate festivities each week, from the fences lined with signs to all the people who greeted us each Friday night at 6 for the catwalk to the great food and entertainment. We appreciated every bit of it. The actions of others reminded us week after week why being a Dalton Catamount is such a tremendous honor. Thank you, Mr. Henry, and the band for supporting us each week. And thank you to our student body, the flag guys, and the fans who are always there for us. We'd like to thank the medical staff who are there to put us back together. Thank you, Crystal Clark, our trainer, Dr. Easley, Dr. Fricks, Dr. Norman, and Dr. Wilson. Perhaps most of all, we'd like to thank our parents who have been with us from the first time we put on pads in rec league games. We know that after a long practice, our moms will be sympathetic, and our dads will nod and understand and tell us to hang in there. We know that no matter the outcome of a game, you both will be waiting just outside the fieldhouse doors. We know our parents are the ones who volunteer their time to sell tickets or work on the program or prepare for the spaghetti dinners or make scrapbooks or do any of the hundreds of jobs as part of the quarterback club. Thank you for being there for us as we enjoyed this wonderful experience of being a Dalton Catamount. We will never forget about being a part of 4 playoff games. There's nothing in the world like playing football on Friday night under the lights out on Harmon Field.
All right. What some people don't know is that a man of this size has feelings, and when you hear whale noises coming from Coach Carpenter on the other side of the field, it takes a toll on young Pollard's emotions. Coach Pollard is one of those guys that takes corrective criticism to heart, so for a month straight he wore nothing but black because he believed it was slimming. But there's more to Coach Pollard than that. Since he doesn't speak, it turns out that he's a great listener, so when I couldn't dare complain to Coach Bennett, I always knew I could complain to Coach Pollard. But I could also count on Coach Pollard complaining about how bad his desk job is or how he wants to join a motorcycle club. Coach Pollard has taught me a lot in the 4 years that I've been here. One of those being that even when new coaches are hired, he's still going to get made fun of. But anyways, Coach Pollard grew from coach to friend with me, and even though we make fun of each other constantly, I can still count on him being there for me when needed. He's become a man that's respectable and trustworthy, and if I could become half the man he is, then I'd be perfectly content with that. So thank you.
Coach Cole Bennett, please step up.
Well,
Well, the past 3 years have been an interesting journey with Coach Cole. From being intergalactic space warriors fighting against Leighton Reese sophomore year, to our intense ninja training with the help of Jedi Master Cake and Coach Lawless. From learning how to harness the power of the sperm whale and bottlenose dolphin, the memories of being an acolyte to your teachings has made most of my high school memories. This past year has been filled with ups and downs, from injuries to wins. And from all of those, I have learned many things from you, like your extensive recollection of the James Bond movies and any movies made on the Sci-Fi Channel. Practices were never light on humor. I always looked forward to group time with Coach Cole. My favorite time of practice was the tackling drills with the kickers and Blevins. In these drills, we had to make contact with the three ways, Isai, Kiko, and Pepe Blanco. Coach Cole started calling him Pepe Blanco after the Heritage game because he couldn't kick the ball into the end zone to save his life. But the things that I will remember most about Coach Cole is his nicknames. He has made a huge list over the years. Apparently, Cole has some belief that my dad is somehow a descendant of the Greek god Poseidon. And he has designated many nicknames such as Fish Face, Aquanaut, and Aquaman. He also called Chipper Diabetes, Roderick the Puma, and Jordan Long Chuck Norris, and of course Nathan Moore as Scoop and Score. There are so many little details that I cannot include in this, but they say that life is not measured in one's accomplishments, but in the lives that one touches. Coach Cole is a great coach and mentor, and I'm lucky to have had this experience. Thank you.
Come on, Coach Carpenter. These past 4 years have been filled with love, teasing, scolding, and a lot of laughs. I would like to say thank you for all of it. Even the daily remarks of how slow I am and how much I'm a block magnet, or asking about certain rumors you heard all through my sophomore year. And you never said it, but I know you and the rest of the defensive coaches, y'all liked Eder a whole lot more than me. just a little. I would also like to say thank you for all the time and effort and loss of sleep you poured into this team over the past 4 years. I really enjoyed seeing Knox at practice every day and really admire how great of a father you are, being able to balance your family and for the love of the game. Seeing the way you interact with your son really makes me want to be as good a father as you are one day in the future. I will always remember the night you told me that Knox prayed for me, and I will always cherish that because it really put into perspective for me that how I really am living my childhood dream. People don't see how much film you watch or how much time you sacrifice away from your family during football season. We practically become a part of your family during the season. Over these past 4 years, I didn't make things easier on you or some of the other coaches with my poor choices, and I would like to say thank you for sticking with me. I would also like to say thank you for putting me at ease after the Alexander game. With tears in my eyes, hysterically crying off the field, you found me and gave me an overwhelming hug and told me you were proud of me and that I had nothing to be ashamed of. You will really never understand how much that meant to me after everything we've been through over these past 4 years. Finally, I would like to say thank you for teaching me how to play this game. You taught me to play with intensity, how to read the linemen, and how to show some love to Keener and the big boys up front who make us look good. You truly are a great man, and you always know when to crack a joke, and I love you.
Coach Long, I believe I speak for everyone when I say that we appreciate your addition to our team this year, even though you stole most of my kicking balls this year. But seriously, our receiving corps seemed to be on the same page as the rest of this offense all season, and it was critical to our success on the offensive side of the ball. When I first met you, I actually thought you were going to be our new quarterback. But as it turned out, you made a very important impact on the team as a whole. Oh, and thanks for not letting Pepe play tight end.
I've known Coach Mayo for 4 years. Been with him all 4 years. Always been a lineman. There's one thing I know about Coach Mayo is that he hates kickers. With passion, I promise. Every day, a ball will get kicked down there into our little drill place, and he hated it. One of the best things about Coach Mayo is his food. He can cook very well. His corn is amazing. Another thing is he would always find a way to sneak up behind us while we were doing something and hit us with a whistle. It's surprisingly very painful. And another thing that I remember about Coach Mayo is he would always call us the Yellow Ducks when we were freshmen. We eventually got moved up to the Ninjas because of our black jerseys, but we were always the Yellow Ducks. Something else that happened to me this year is he finally admitted that I'm taller than Keener. It's true, Keener. I am very much taller than you. Did make my day and my year. He always had something inspiring to say to us. If it was coming in at halftime, he always knew what to do, and say a team was running something we hadn't practiced for, he always knew what the answer was. Coach Mayo, it's been a pleasure getting to know you the past 4 years, and from me, Jake, Pacheco, and Arabeth, thank you for coaching us and also letting us be your friend. Thank you.
As I grew up in Salina, there were a lot of families that had things and didn't have things. But one thing is, Coach Napier treated everybody the same and earned a lot of respect from his classmates. It's that character trait that has made him such a great coach. I got to know Coach Napier on a personal level throughout all the quarterback camps and Sunday throwing sessions. I've yet to meet a coach that has the passion he has for seeing young people excel at any level. You see a lot of coaches who do it for the show, but Coach Napier is truly passionate. The Monday after the Northwest game, feeling extremely blessed, I texted a few people that have a place in my heart and wishing them a good day. Coach Napier was the recipient of my message. After the Alexander loss in the locker room, Coach Napier came up to me and thanked me for the text. He insisted it made his day. It was the least I could do. Every time I see Coach Napier in the hall, he makes an effort to put a smile on my face and wish me a good day. As a player, I miss not having him on the sidelines, but I plan on coming back one Friday next fall and sitting up with him in the press box.
Get Coach Bennett up here. Sorry. It happens. Well, Coach Bennett is a man that wears many hats. He's a husband, he's a father, he's a grandfather. And if his hands weren't full enough with that, he has to deal with 17 and 8-year-old kids, including myself. Everyone knows that Coach Bennett is the most feared coach. You can get yelled at for anything from a laundry strap gone bad or a busted snap on a helmet. But Coach Bennett was also a man of simple and rhetorical questions. My favorite being, and I quote, "Keener, are you stupid?" Because if you are, then I'm okay with it. I would also like to say to all the freshmen, you don't have to whisper. When he walks in the room, he's not that old. He can still hear you. But on a more serious note, I'm a firm believer that Coach Bennett is the reason. Coach Bennett is the reason I am the kind of person I am today. Now, he'll argue that that's not a good thing, but in reality, if I can gain half as much respect as he has and become a successful man like Coach Bennett, then I'll be in good shape. So thank you for everything you've done for me, and I love you.
Well, not very many of you outside of this football team know about Coach Smith very much. He was one of the youngest coaches on our offense, and he brought the intensity when it needed to be brought in practice when we were not having one of our better days. I've grown very fond of him since he joined us this summer, and we have a lot in common. He demands greatness on the field from the linemen and doesn't hesitate to jump on us when we are not doing it to his standards. Isn't that right, Hicks? Anyways, I'm going to miss him a great deal, and I wish I had more than one season to get to know him. I wish him the best of luck in the coming years here at Dalton, and I would like to thank him for the guidance and everything that he taught me this year.
People say that playing high school football is one of the most special experiences you could ever go through.
It's coaches like Coach Sparks that make it more special, and it's coaches like Coach Sparks that make you love the game even more than you already do. Thank you, Coach Sparks, for everything you have done for all of us. Thank you for teaching us not just about football, but also about life. Thank you for guiding us to become better sons, brothers, players, students, and just better people. Thank you for sending us different Bible verses and motivational sayings, for it was those verses that got us through some of our toughest times. Thank you for backing me up when Coach Napier always yelled at me for doing something wrong. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to do something that I grew up as a child dreaming about. Coach Sparks has a knack for seeing potential and bringing it out of anyone. And it is this trait that helped our team become Dalton High School's 22nd region champion. On behalf of all of us, just thank you for making this the most special experience of our lives.
I just want to thank everybody for being here with all 4 years. I know a lot of things came up with me out of those years. Coach Thompson, he's really helped me. You know, he's been there. Talked to him for a few times. Anybody who knows me knows I don't really tell my business, but Coach got me to open up. I talked to him, you know, he really helped me. I just appreciate everything you did for me, Coach. I love everybody. Thank y'all.
We had a scrimmage, you know, when all the parents come out, we had a scrimmage, and I believe Kerry Dills had got injured, and Coach Thompson had got me, you know, threw me in that corner, and the very first play, one of the receivers ran a post route, and I deflected the ball, and it ended up in me getting an interception also. You know, Coach Thompson, you know, he gets crunk, you know, he don't know how to hold his emotion in. You know, he lets it all out, and you know, I'm pretty sure he got in the spirit of stance to start running straight to me and jumping back like 5 yards when he finally got to me. And over the next 2 years, he's taught me like several lessons, and that will help me become the best man that I could be. But above all, Coach Thompson has showed me and the rest of the team how to be a great father and worshiper of Christ. And I'm honored to have played for you for my 2 years here, and I'm glad to know you for my entire high school career. You know, I love you. Thank you for everything.
To start off, he's not only my coach, but like a father figure to me, and I'm sure I'm not the only one out of this group of DVs that feels the same way. When I first transferred to the school alongside with my brother Randy, the first coach I met was Coach Thompson. It's like it was destined for me to be a DB. Now, I know that it'll be difficult to replace an Asian player like me, but I want you to hold the tears back because I want my son in this program in the future. Also, another random fact, I once only feared spiders, but now after getting to know Coach, I now fear spiders and Coach Thompson.
After being burnt back-to-back plays at Jack's Stadium my rising sophomore summer, Coach Thompson came over to me and I prepared myself for well-deserved butt chewing. However, Coach Thompson made me look him in the eyes and he told me how much he loved me and that I was going to make a huge play to redeem myself. The very next play, I met Matt Cobb on the goal line and got destroyed. Although I didn't make any spectacular play to redeem myself, I knew I could trust Coach Thompson regardless of the situation. He has shown the team how to be a loving father and showed what it's like to have courage. Every Friday morning before our games, Coach would read us his daily devotion from his Bible. But before he began his reading, he would explain how he has trouble speaking in front of crowds. However, that didn't stop him from preaching the word and sharing his faith with a bunch of 16 and 17-year-olds. Coach Thompson showed us how to believe, have faith, and trust not only each other but also the Lord. Even though I'll never play for him again, I hope our relationship continues to grow and never fades.
I'm sure a lot of y'all are wondering why I'm up here talking about Coach Wilson. He's the quarterback coach. Well, to tell y'all the truth, for about 4 hours this summer, I was the #1 quarterback on the depth chart. I can personally say I admire Coach Wilson for the passion that he has as a standout father, as well as an amazing man in the community. With Coach Wilson, I can see myself as a successful person in life because of everything he's done for me. From watching him raise his own family to just having casual conversations from time to time with him, I can honestly say I will miss him when I go off to school. But I also know I can call him anytime, and he'd be there for me. So what I'm trying to say is thank you and Miss Joy for so much for everything y'all have done for me.
There's a lot I would like to say about this team, about this family, but that's going to take me a lot of time. So let me just tell you the short version and begin by saying thank you to all of the coaches for all the support, time, and effort that you put into this program. I'm 100% sure that every single one of y'all coach your best to every player, and so that we can have a better team and better men. Thank you to every single one of y'all, but especially I want to thank to 3 of the coaches that made me a better person, not just on the field, but outside the box. Thank you, Coach Bennett, for having a lot of patience with me, for not giving up on me. I know that sometimes I gave you a hard time and you had to deal with me during practice or in a game. I know that I wasn't the strongest or the fastest, but I want you to know that I did try my best. Thank you. Second, I want to thank to Coach Thompson for being a great advisor, for making me more disciplined with my own things and teaching me how to take care of business that later on in life get paid off. Thank you. Last but not least, Coach Land, thank you for being a friend, a mentor, and a great coach. You were always helping me with my problems. You always had time to listen to me. You always told me a way I could improve myself by giving me advice or how to make good choices. Thank you for everything you did to help me out and become a better person. Thank you. I enjoyed playing 2 years of Catamount football, and I can tell you that it changes your life. These people become your second family, and that field house becomes your second home. Thank you to all of y'all, and go Big Red.
Never did I imagine that moving from Auburn, Alabama would automatically cause somebody to love me. As many of you know, Coach Land is addicted to Auburn football. So when I first met him and told him I moved from Auburn, his face instantly lit up. It was actually kind of freaky. He had the biggest grin on his face, and with all my grill, his breath smelled of Coke and chili. Hot chili. But I soon learned that if you have a Tic Tac, to eliminate his breath, Coach Land is a pretty cool dude. He's passionate. He's a passionate coach with a loving heart. That what I most admire about him. As a token of appreciation for all the time and effort you've put into our senior class, we'd like to present you with a gift.